Gaming news today is all about first impressions. First, the Nintendo Switch 2 price debate continues to heat up, and Nintendo is not doing themselves any favors, but something they just said lines up with a prediction that I made about how they were going to position the new device alongside the Switch 1. Secondly, the AC Shadows update has hit. It's pretty big, and it added a lot of great things and some good improvements. I'm going to give you my first impressions after playing through some of the things that they updated. And as well, first impressions. Third, Metal Eden has a demo available right now. I completed it. I'm going to give you my first impressions on it as well. And if you want to check that out, you can play it right now. And the release date's just around the corner. And as always, I do have a game for your wish list and your radar. And it's one that actually is out now on Game Pass, and it's coming to PlayStation late May. Now, if you're watching this later, it helps to hit the like button, even if you're watching this as a past broadcast. It really helps if you're in the live audience right now. And if you want to support the channel directly, we've already been streaming. You missed an hour-long show. Sometimes I'm actually late to the public show because I'm hanging out in morning coffee with my members. So hit the join button. Make sure you pick Member Plus. It's $6 a month, but you get into morning coffee, the green room, for, the price of a cup of coffee. You get extra shows every single day of the week and a lot more podcasts. All right, so let's get into this. What's going on with Nintendo, right? The price debate about the Switch 2 doesn't seem to want to go away. And some of this is about game prices, right? Mario Kart being $80 has caused a whole bunch of discussions. Yesterday, in case you missed it, we kind of covered the discussion with, as it pertains to GTA 6. Many saying, and I'm even saying now, that GTA 6 is not going to want to enter the market at a lower price point than Mario Kart. So it's very likely that $80 will be the price of GTA 6, maybe higher. Now, the other thing people are now fixating on, though, which is interesting, is the price of the actual Switch, which I find to be sort of incredible, given that right now the prices of a Switch 1 OLED, I don't quite understand what people actually expected here. Raging about the price, it's a great way to get clicks these days. There's this whole meta right now of just angry headlines, angry content about basically everything in gaming. And Doug Bowser, president of Nintendo, he certainly did not help matters with his recent response about this. He said the following, quote, "We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available. Now, many are comparing this to when Xbox One was criticized, and Don Matrick famously said that folks could buy the Xbox 360 if they didn't have an internet connection because the Xbox One basically required one. I will say, Bowser's comments don't really compare, and here's why I don't think they compare to what Don Matrick said, okay? First, the current Switch 1 is $200 for a light version, the one that you can't dock, you just carry around with you. It's $300 for the standard, and it's $350 for the OLED, okay? That's an 8-year-old device with a better screen, and it's $350. So the Switch 2 is $100 more than the most expensive Switch 1 model. That seems like a very perfectly reasonable pricing structure to me. $200 for the absolute cheapest Switch available on the market, the Switch Lite. So $200, then $300, then $350, then $450. That doesn't seem like bad pricing structure in the least. Did you really expect to get a brand new Switch 2 for the price of a Switch 1 OLED, an 8-year-old device? I think people's expectations are very much out of step and out of whack. It seems to me to stem from outrage culture, right? Nobody stops and thinks. This is a console handheld hybrid capable of 4K 60 gameplay when you dock it, right? If you look at the console market right now, if you look at the handheld market right now, Nintendo Switch 2's price point is not out of step at all. This is a lot of just emotional reaction and knee-jerk rage at every turn. I honestly hope the Switch 2 sells well. If for one reason, I would really like the frugal fanatics that have suddenly funneled their way into the gaming commentary to find a new hobby or leave the rest of us alone. I've been gaming since the late 80s, and it's never been a cheap hobby. The incessant insistence that it should be more affordable identical or cheaper, it's just tiring. It's all manufactured by rage bait content and emotionally charged headlines, and it keeps you mad and it keeps you clicking. And I'm certainly open to hearing people's perspectives on this and having discussions, but I really don't think being upset at the price of the Switch 2 makes any sense at all. I understand being upset about the price of games going up. Nobody likes that. But the Switch 2 itself is well within the pricing structure of other devices in the market right now. It's well within its own pricing structure compared to the fact that they never really budged on price with the Switch 1, the Lite, or the Switch 1 OLED. So we'll probably get into it today. The pricing discussion's ongoing because obviously people are feeling the pain of inflation. They're feeling the pain of wages sort of being stagnant, but that's not on Nintendo. It's not any company's responsibility to make sure that, you can still afford whatever it is they're making. Now, they obviously have to meet you where you are to a certain degree, because if the target market doesn't buy the device, then maybe it's overpriced, or maybe they misfired on features or didn't add the right types of games. But I don't think it's going to happen with Nintendo. I think their products are usually very high in demand, and I don't see the Switch 2 faltering because of a $450 price point. And I also don't know if it's going to falter because of Mario Kart being $80. Now, as far as first impressions go, let me give you my first impressions of the latest update brought to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, they did some things with quality of life that I'm not really going to get into because there's a lot of very specific things that they did. So what I wanted to do was just kind of give you my reaction to the first. And the biggest thing is they have added PSSR. Now, one of the things going on with PSSR is that it is causing an issue with the sorry about the ads, boys. I thought I switched it to manual and I didn't. I did yesterday and I didn't today. I thought I did. That's my mistake. So PSSR is apparently causing issues with HDR. Now, I turned HDR off because in performance mode in AC Shadows, there was a bit of a vibrating, almost flickering effect that came from HDR. I don't think HDR is that great to begin with. The global illumination is beautiful as it is, and the HDR didn't seem to be, improving the look of the game enough to put up with the shimmering, almost shaking effect. PSSR is also seemingly having some kind of a weird issue with HDR, with the clouds and the sky. So I didn't see any of that because I have HDR turned off. I'm just going to admit to you right now, I couldn't see a difference because the game is so stinking good looking. I think this is arguably one of the best looking games this gen. It might be currently the best looking game during this generation, especially if you're playing on a Pro. So I couldn't see a difference. Apparently it's helping with like shadows and a blurring effect on foliage. I couldn't tell. It looked great. I left PSSR on. I didn't see any issues with frame rate. Some people were saying that it was like dropping into the 50s or whatever when they turned PSSR on. I didn't notice that. Maybe that's something with the HDR. I will say the most notable help was in the hideout. The hideout was horrible to go to if you were playing on performance mode. You're literally going from 60 FPS to 30 just like in the blink of an eye, and it is horrible. And now the hideout, I think, is roughly in the 50s. It's not a solid 60, but it looked way better. Now, I don't know what you're going to get on the base PS5 or the base or the Xbox Series X, but on the PS5 Pro, when I go into the hideout now, it's in the 50s and it's very, very tolerable. I didn't feel like the frame rate was dropping in the open world and in the main game when I had PSSR turned on, and the hideout no longer being at 30 was a huge benefit. Being able to mark a bunch of things for dismantle was nice as well. Some good quality of life things were added. So overall, just a continued great experience in that game. I don't even know how many hours I have in the game right now. I still have not played as Yasuke. I'm only playing as Naoe. I'm taking my time. I'm slowly but surely working my way through. I've got 13 hours in the game, and I'm just enjoying it. I'm clearing out the map. I'm doing side quests. I'm really enjoying Assassin's Creed Shadows, even more than I anticipated. I thought I was going to get kind of overwhelmed by the open world and that Ubisoft feel, but I think they've done a much better job this time around, and it just feels good to be in the game. So Let's move on. Another first impressions that I want to give you, and this is something that just dropped yesterday if you want to check it out. It is the Metal Eden demo. This is kind of like a cyberpunkian Doom is what it feels like. It has sort of the agility and the bombast of like Doom 2016. Very, very fun, very satisfying. I will say this. It has some performance issues they're going to have to iron out. Performance mode had egregious screen tearing. I couldn't figure out why. It had the option to enable or disable VSync. It didn't help. But the good news is quality mode, as far as I could tell, quality mode was running at a pretty stable 60. Maybe that's not true outside of the PS5 Pro. I was playing on the Pro, so maybe the increased performance helps there. I'm not sure. But I would really prefer to put it on performance mode and not have to worry about that, because even in quality mode, frame rate did stutter from time to time. There is a pretty nasty use of motion blur. It's a little bit much. There's also a lot of stuff on the screen a lot of the time, so it can get a little muddy and a little messy in the midst of the chaos. So I would love to see some of that performance ironed out. As far as like the graphics and the sound effects and all of that, I think it's a very, very sharp and good looking game. It's got its own vibe. It's got its own feel. And that demo, again, is available right now. Now, I will say this about gameplay. Gameplay feels great, but they need to adjust some things. They do this accelerated turning thing where when you start to turn to the left or the right, excuse me, when you start to turn to the left or the right, it's slow at first and then it speeds up. That's not conducive for a game like this. I need to be able to turn to my left and my right really quickly because the game is so fast. I mean, you got guys charging you and you're like dashing and dodging out of the way and like grappling hooking to things. All of that feels great, but the turning speed feels terrible. And so largely I would run from fights and turn around instead of doing like that bob and weave thing that you might do in like a Doom where you kind of like sidestep and like turn quickly and blast somebody. So they need to adjust that. I'm not sure why there's no setting for that, but that was a frustration point. So I can recommend it, though. It was a good game. It's a fun game. Hopefully the demo can give them some good feedback on some of those things I outlined, and it can have a very, very strong launch, because the game has a release date of, I forget, May something. I think it's late May. Somebody's going to have to put it in chat. Sorry, I forgot to put that in my show notes. And now I do have a game for your wish list and your radar, and it's kind of similar. You know, you're running around with guns and you're having a good time, and this one's called Roboquest. This one's coming to PlayStation on May the 27th, and I'm very excited about that. My wife and I have been looking for a good shooter rogue ever since we played a little too much Gunfire Reborn. Sadly, Gunfire Reborn has like seasonal content that we can't play because you have to like beat the game on like these much harder difficulties that we're not really interested in. I don't like that they like gatekeep their seasonal content that way. I just wish we could play with, play it and enjoy it or whatever. But Roboquest is an amazing first-person shooter rogue. You can play it 2-player co-op. And it is currently on Xbox Game Pass. It is also on Steam. But it's coming to PlayStation, and it's coming on May 27th. Now, they're also working on a VR version for PC VR and PSVR 2. It will have co-op added later to the VR version, but the VR version is slated to be coming sometime this year as well. So that's the show open. That's the news. And now it's time for the discussion. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. Go through your morning ritual and smash that like button. Thank you guys so much for being here. And people are really, really unhappy with my perspective on the situation with game prices. And I'm getting a lot of like very, very angry comments. They have very colorful language about what they think that I am doing to corporations, which is interesting. Lot of insecure, boyish energy out there lately on this subject. Like, people can't just disagree; they have to get very emotional and very angry, which is interesting, to not be in control of yourself over something as simple as a video game topic or game prices. But they're flooding the comments with a lot of rage and a lot of anger. And I got some people to thank, though. We did start off the day very, very strong already. This man loves to do this when I'm not even in the chair yet. I can't even yell it, but I'm going to yell. It's a 50 bomb from MASH. He drops the Death Star on chat when I wasn't even in the chair. And then a 5 bomb from Pathalon Phoenix. Unbelievable. So we're going to have to take the 55 members that have already been added to the count and just blast us up here to 166 on the week. That weekly goal is for a Friday night stream with Madam. We're also going to be co-streaming the marathon event on Saturday. If you guys didn't see my marathon video, people aren't too happy with that video either, mainly because they're not watching it. People could save themselves a lot of trouble and actually watch videos instead of react to thumbnails. They think it's a hate video because they didn't watch it. But yeah, the video is up right now about how I think they're setting that game up to fail. Even though it could still be amazing, I'm not worried about the gameplay or the fun factor. I'm worried about how they're positioning it within the live service market. I will gift a member. Hang on, I didn't have the Super Chat gold going just yet. A $5 Super Chat tip from Wired Rope. For people complaining about Switch 2 prices, it's funny because we don't have a price yet. Hence the canceled pre-orders. Are we winning yet? Oh, for frick's sake. Shut the frick up, Wired Rope. Boyish energy, anger, overly emotional. You don't say in the gaming world, right, Purple Haze? It's just like, where is the... Man, where are the people that aren't stuck in extended adolescence? That's what I want to know. I think games should be priced at different prices. I'm not interested in debating the price of Mario Kart today. I'm not interested in debating the cost of, the games going up or whatever. Why do people think that the Switch 2 is too expensive? I need that one explained to me. And a 5-bomb comes in from Joker Quinn at 171. Thank you so much, Joker Quinn. So launch prices of the PlayStation 1 was $300, PlayStation 2 was $300, PlayStation 3 was $500 or $600 depending on that. That didn't go well for them. Then the PS4 comes out at $400, and then the PlayStation 5 comes out at $400 for the digital. So, Switch 2 being $450 is just, what's going on here. I just look at the market itself. I don't look at the history of console prices, because history of console prices, especially against Nintendo notoriously has made an awful lot of money on the Switch. Like, they've not been out here selling it at a loss, okay? So the fact that it's $150 more than, like, the Wii U was $300, the Switch was $300 at launch, right? And a Member Plus renewal from SDO with 25 months. Happy 25 months. I think the game pricing issues are just because we're not seeing anything new to justify the cost increase to consoles and games. I completely disagree with the idea that we're not seeing anything new with the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is a very competitive handheld in my mind. It's a handheld that I can dock and get, I would say, impressive performance on my TV. I can take it with me. I can play games natively on it. I can play Tears of the Kingdom at 60 frames per second on a handheld for $450. Go buy a handheld for $450. How many games are you playing at 60? How many? Right? Like, one of the reasons that I avoided a Steam Deck was because it can't play a lot of games at 60. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I get why people get them. I think they're good devices, but they're not for me. Then I look at the Switch 2 and I'm like, brother, for $450, I can be sitting in my car, playing, like, I wouldn't be driving, playing Zelda at 60. Emulation, that has no bearing on the market. No, that's an aftermarket secondary thing that consumers do. That's not something that's in the market that you can engage with in a legitimate commercial way. No, absolutely not. That's not even a factor. That's like saying, well, I'm not going to buy the latest, PlayStation because I can emulate all of the games. Like, okay, but that's not what consumers can do right now. They can't, go to the store and be like, hi, can I have your emulation box, please? You got to buy a PC. You got to be familiar with how to do it. You got to download the software to do it. That's not in the market as, a legitimate consumer option. It isn't. It's an aftermarket, sort of under-the-table thing that people do. It is legal. Has anybody actually looked into the fact that, does Nintendo say that's okay? That is it in the terms and conditions? That they're like, yeah, that's totally fine. You can do this. Legion Go can emulate. Right, but that's not an option for the average consumer. You're not countering what I'm saying. For me to go into the market right now and buying a $450 Switch, and you're like, but I can emulate. Okay. Emulation's legal. No. I didn't ask about the legality. I asked about the terms of service. Like, does Nintendo say that's okay, or could they put a stop to it if they found a way to stop you? Like, is it in their terms or conditions or their EULA? Do they allow for that? Something doesn't have to be illegal for it to be against terms and conditions. There's nothing illegal about using an aimbot, but that's against terms and conditions of a video game. F Nintendo? I mean, okay. Are you gonna have a conversation, or are you gonna talk like a boy? I mean, F Nintendo? Ooh, what are that? You're not even communicating now. You're just saying a curse word at a brand. I think price of the console is getting heat mostly as an offshoot from the price of the games. I kind of agree. If they wouldn't have done an $80 Mario Kart, I don't know if anybody would be saying anything. You're legally allowed to emulate, but you need to buy the actual game and get the data from that game, and downloading the ROMs are illegal. Yeah, so I'm going to hazard a guess. I'm just going to guess that the average person touting the legality of emulation isn't even buying the games. Out of 10 people that are emulating, there's probably, one person in the group who's doing it legitimately, and the rest of you are probably just stealing the games. I mean, I'll just say what I think. I don't have a way of proving that, but given the posture and the swagger and the hubris, the hubris of the people who talk about this, I would say most of you are not buying the games and doing it legitimately. You're just stealing them. You know what I mean? I bought every game I emulated. Right, but Omar, you're also a lawyer that works in copyright law. So, I mean, do you think you demonstrate the gaming market? Do you think you demonstrate the PC boys that talk about this sort of thing? Come on. Lono talking about hubris. Ironic. What's your issue here with your... You barely talk. You barely talk in the channel. I'm looking at your channel activity. You somehow have a gold badge, and you seem to be very antagonistic toward me. Who are you? I don't recognize your username. Did you change your username? What's your issue with me? Why are you here being this way? We're all having a conversation, and you're just deciding to be like a little ponce. Like, what's the problem here? Let's be real. If you are emulating, you are probably pirating. No way it's not vastly majority are using it to pirate. It's Skeg. You have a gold badge, and I don't recognize your name. I don't know who you are. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who you are. I don't feel like I've interacted with you with any regularity, and you have this chip on your shoulder antagonism toward me. Like, why are you taking a shot at me? Hubris, that's ironic coming from Lono. I mean, are you trying to bait a reaction or a ban? Like, what's the purpose of your contribution to the discussion? Hubris is an interesting word to describe Lono. I mean, if somebody wants to describe me as having hubris, there are easier ways to admit that you're insecure and you don't like somebody who can confidently argue. I mean, I don't know why people are so quick to self-admit that they're insecure. Like, just engage in the discussion. Like, I've not said anything about you. I've not been like, you have a lot of hubris. I'm saying, when it comes to emulation and when it comes to that topic, the way people talk about it, the way the PC boys talk about it, I'm here to tell you, I think they're mostly stealing the games. I don't think they're doing it legitimately. These PC Master Race boys that pound their chests like King Kong, I don't think they're out here with a collection of Switch games in their house so that they can legally emulate. I don't think they are. It's just a gut feeling that I have. Did they, you know what I'm saying? Do they show off their Nintendo Switch game collection? Do they? They're like, here's all my jewel cases. You know, the PC Master Race boys that are like talking about these consoles and these companies as if they're terrible and they'll call somebody like me a corporate shill. You think they have this robust collection of Nintendo Switch games? The frick out of here. They're not doing that. Now, if you're Omar and you're on the up and up, then you don't apply to what I'm saying. Like that, what I'm saying doesn't apply to you, I should say. But emulation doesn't counter what we were originally talking about. The price of the Nintendo Switch 2 at $450, to me, when I look at the available devices in the market, I'm like, why are you trying to knock Nintendo down a peg? Why? This feels just like all of the insecure PC guys that wet their underwear over the PS5 Pro's price. It's like, what are we talking about here? Look at the tech available in the market. Look at what you can do to boost performance on your PC for $250 and admit that the Pro is reasonably priced for what it offers. The performance I'm getting in AC Shadows for a $700 device is worth every penny I spent on my PS5 Pro. We're doing the same thing. We're picking a company that we don't like, and we're acting like they don't have the gall for them to charge $450. What are you talking about? There are very unimpressive PC handhelds in the market right now that are more expensive than the Switch 2, and I can't dock them and increase their performance on my TV. I can do that with the Switch 2. I can get better performance in the Metroid game or the Zelda games when I dock them. Can you do that with your $500 PC handheld? Can you get better performance when you dock it? Lazy Nerd with 32 months and a member plus. Happy thoughts. Darren with 10 months and a member plus. And DK Bager gifted a single member, and I didn't say anything about it. I'm sorry, DK. And that gets us to 175. Thank you very, very much. And we've got a $5 super chat from Dr. Pimp. Says, Nintendo being the cheap point of entry for games, but now they have upped the power of the system and they're asking for a higher price folks don't want to pay. Ginger says, I've not seen too much pushback on the console price. The frustration I see online seems to be more the price of the games. Well, it's interesting, though, because Doug Bowser took a question about people not being able to afford the console because it is a higher price than the Switch was. And he's like, well, you can buy the Switch. And that's what I told people they were going to do. I said they're going to name it. Listen, if you go back and you watch, chat can vouch for me. I said they're going to call it the Switch 2, and they're going to slate it right alongside the rest of the Switches. They're going to have a pricing structure of Switch Lite, Switch 1, Switch OLED, Switch 2. And that's literally what they have done. I mean, I nailed that bullseye from 1,000 yards away. I was like, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to rename it. They're not going to call it, the Rosetta or something. They're not going to give it some weird new name. It's going to be the Switch 2. And it's going to be right next to an OLED. And that's how they're going to structure it. You're going to go into the store and you're going to have your choice. A $5 super chat tip from Wired Rope. We think there's a fundamental misconception about piracy. Piracy is almost always a service problem and not a pricing problem, says Gabe Newell. And Big Willie B with 22 months. I found gaming in 2020 with Animal Crossing on the Switch. Now I played everything from Horizon Zero Dawn to Starfield. Looking forward to the Switch 2. Thank you, Big Willie B. And that bumps the line to 176 on the member count. Let me see here. Hang on. And then a $2 super chat. Do you think DK Bonanza gets a Switch 1 port? I don't know. I really don't know. A callback to the Xbox One. I don't think it's analogous to what Don Matrick said, because Don Matrick was basically saying, if you don't have internet, you can just buy the 360. People were taking issue with a requirement within the device. What Doug Bowser is saying is, we have a whole suite of devices. You can, if you can't afford this, we have other devices, right? Like, it certainly doesn't have the greatest optics, but that's their view of the Switch. When you're in your 8th year of a device and you're at 150 million sales and you only just recently had a slowdown in your actual sales curve, like a significant slowdown, what he said's not crazy. They're still selling Switches. It's one of the most popular devices ever sold. That's literally a repeat of Don Matrick's sentiment. It comes across as extremely tone deaf. No, it doesn't come across as tone deaf, because Nintendo is still positioning the Switch as an available option. They're not treating this like a generational shift. They have not treated this like a generational shift. It's not the same at all. Xbox is like, this is the new era for Xbox. This is the new Xbox. Nintendo's like, no, we still have the Switch. The cards are compatible, the games are compatible. You can play games, you can trade games. The Switch One's included in the marketing, brother. Xbox didn't include the Switch One. Xbox didn't include any of the previous Xbox in its marketing. The Switch 2 has included the Switch One in its marketing. It's not even remotely the same at all. It's a completely different way that they're positioning the device. They're like, this is a new Switch alongside these other Switches that we have. Now, yes, eventually, probably in like 2 years, they're only going to be making games for Switch 2, and then it'll feel more like a generational shift. But that's not how they're positioning this. The fact that their very first Switch 2 commercial had a Switch 1 in it, it's exactly the same. You can keep asserting this the same, but it's not the same. People's issue with the Xbox One, when Don Matrick said what he said, they were like, well, what if we don't have internet all of the time? We're coming from 360 to this era. Well, what if we don't have internet? And he's like, well, if you don't have internet, you can buy the 360. And it's like, no. You're not solving the problem. We already have the 360, and we don't have internet. You're not solving the problem. That's not what Doug Bowser is saying. Doug Bowser is not like, oh, well, yeah, if you don't have internet, you can just buy our previous device. It doesn't require internet. It's like, we already have your previous device. He's saying, if you can't afford this, we have more affordable options within the Switch household of devices, because, again, they're not picturing this. They're not treating their console the same way. Xbox walks out and says, this is a brand new Xbox. This is the new generation. Nintendo didn't walk out and say that. Nintendo walked out and said, here's the Switch 2. It's going to work right alongside your existing Switches if you have one. It's in the same suite of devices in their mind. It's why it's priced the way that it's priced. They have Switch 2 only games. They do, but again, if you go and you look at how they've positioned this, you guys are you keep making the fatal mistake of viewing Nintendo as if they're like a traditional, console like PlayStation or Xbox. They're not. Nintendo's like, no, we're not doing that. And at some level, I kind of like the energy of, if you can't afford it, buy something cheaper. Well, it's bad optics. Get over it. Sorry. Like, imagine any other company having to field that question. Imagine, like, Apple being interviewed. What about the price? What if people can't afford your device? Huh? Oh, okay. What the frick does that mean? Why is that even a question? Why is that a question that's being tabled? Gaming is cheap. It should not be expensive. False. Gaming's never been cheap. Never. It's never been cheap. Xbox got killed for saying that. Xbox brought a device to the market with a requirement that people might not have. When Don Matrick said what he said, he wasn't saying, if you can't afford it, just buy our old version. He was like, if you don't have internet, we have a device that doesn't require internet. The reason that was tone deaf is you came to an existing market of consumers who you knew a lot of them weren't using the internet, and you said, well, the new device requires internet. If the new device requires internet, then if you don't have internet, you just have to go to the old device. That's not the equivalency here. Doug Bowser's basically asked, like, well, what if people can't afford the device? What the frick is he supposed to say? Sorry? What do you want? Do you want an apology from the president of a corporation? You people will call me a corporate shill and a bootlicker. A lot of you are babies. A lot of you are children. You want an apology? Is that what you want? You want them to say, sorry? We're sorry. We're sorry you can't afford our device. What should you send you some complimentary tissues so you can cry? What the frick is this soft, mushy attitude of entitlement these days? What is this? A CEO is supposed to field a question about if people can't afford their device, and you don't like his answer? Get the frick over it. Do you do this with any other device? Hey, Apple, what if people can't afford your iPhone? What the frick kind of a question is that? Then don't buy it. What? I'm going to go to a press conference for a new Rolex. Yeah. Question here. Reforge Gaming, YouTube. What do you say to the people that can't afford your watch? Huh? What? What do you mean? We don't care. We don't care. This I'm telling you, I don't know where this noodle spine, weak-wristed entitlement sissiness comes from about like, well, but what about the people who can't afford it? What about them? What about them? What do you mean? Why is this a question? Comparing Apple to Rolex to Nintendo is wild. Really? Apple is a leader in the phone market. Nintendo is a leader in the gaming market. You don't think there's an analogy there? And Rolex? These are luxury items. I know when I say luxury, everyone's Superman underpants get twisted up and they can't think straight. These are non-necessity items. That's why they're called luxury items. So yes, an iPhone and a Nintendo Switch are very similar in that they're market leaders and their product is not needed. You don't need it. It's not necessity. So Apple's $1 trillion company too. Right. It doesn't. I'm not talking about the valuation of the company. Whether Samsung comes out with a new television or Toshiba comes out with a new set of speakers, no one's ever like, but what about the people that can't afford your device? What the frick do I care about that? What are we running, a charity or a business? Where is this coming from? You're entitled to nothing. Save your money and buy what you can. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not entitled to anything. Like if Nintendo came out and they said, we feel like in light of production costs and the value that we bring to the market, the Nintendo Switch 2 is $1,000. We made it out of gold. Okay, that's what they chose to do. And if you don't want to buy it, no one's saying that you have to. But to be like, well, but I'm confused. What about the people who can't afford it? It's just such a bizarre question. A gold Switch would be kind of hot. It'd be kind of heavy. I think the sentiment that's being expressed is gamers feel squeezed over the last 4 years. I've done well, all things considered, but income hasn't gone up with inflation. Yep, and you know what I say to that? That's not Nintendo's responsibility. That's not Sony's responsibility. That's not Xbox's responsibility. And the grand irony of wanting to invoke wages haven't gone up. You know what's truly remarkable? According to inflation, the cost of gaming has gone down. I know bringing up inflation and facts is very upsetting and people don't want to hear it, but the irony of invoking wage stagnation is interesting because in the grand scheme of affordability of hobbies, gaming has gotten cheaper over the years. It has. It's gotten cheaper. It's easier for me to buy. It's cheaper for me to buy games. I can buy more games in a given month. I can with less money than I could in the past. These are objective facts. This isn't my opinion. It's not my opinion. You use inflation calculators that I know people are scared of. Use them, and you will quickly see. You will quickly see that cost of gaming is cheaper. Cost of gaming is so much cheaper than it was when I was a kid. Yes. In fact, Nintendo is making less money on Mario Kart World than they did on Mario Kart 8. That's exactly right, Ginger. That's why, like, this is what's happening. Somebody, Alapark brought it up in Morning Coffee today, and this is what's happening. Okay, this is why the conversation keeps getting pulled into a ditch, because I take up for the business perspective, and people interpret that as, well, you're just shilling for Nintendo, and I'm like, no, I'm describing basic business practices. You know what I'm saying? Like, a freshman in high school should be able to grapple with the ideas of, like, companies are motivated by making money, because if they're not, then they cease to be companies and they go bankrupt or, I guess, become a charity. Like, but the reason that we keep orbiting around the business is because that's what everybody keeps talking about. Everybody keeps framing it as if, why are they doing this? They have no right. They shouldn't do this. What about the people that can't afford it? And it's like, what the frick does the business care about that? Do you see? We're having an intersection of the business motivation and the current consumer mind frame. And the current consumer mind frame, I got to be honest with you, I don't even think John Q. Public thinks a lick about this. I think John Q. Public is just going to go buy the Switch because it's the new Switch. They're just going to go buy the new Mario game because it's the new Mario game. I don't think they're going to bat an eye at the price of the game. Do you want to know why? Everything in the store is now more expensive. They're coming from the milk aisle and the egg aisle, and they're coming from the clothing aisle, and they're not going to be like, oh, video games went up in price? Oh, they're not going to do that. They're like, everything's going up in price. What do you want me to? What do you want me to say? They're also going to look and they're going to see, you know, if they're in a Best Buy, there are going to be PC handhelds anywhere from, you know, $500 to $900. They're going to see PlayStations in the $400 to $700 range. They're going to see Xboxes in the $300 to $500 range, and then they're going to see a $450 Switch. And I don't think they're going to be like, I can't believe this. They're going to be like, oh yeah, it's within the price of all the other video game hardware in the market right now. Why hide the price if it's no biggie? That was a criticism I had for the Direct, Incredible Black. But I also think with the prices being variable, as Doug Bowser talked about, and with regions not even getting the same price, I think it's hard to put game prices in an event like that. Like, Nintendo is so globally popular, you got people that want to know, well, what's the euro, what's the pound, you know, what's the USD? Obviously, putting the USD, the US dollar is the more common currency to kind of put in these things, and everybody else kind of figures it out. But, like, what about the yen? Like, it's not surprising that they don't do that in these presentations. They know that invoking money in a presentation is generally not the greatest way to market your product, right? Especially if you're going to have variable pricing on the games. That's confusing. I will admit that's freaking confusing. I had a guy getting up my nose about, like, well, why are you saying this? We don't even know if this is true or not. You should have looked into this first. I'm like, look into it where? I can't find the prices of the games anywhere. It doesn't make any sense. They certainly didn't want to have the variable pricing out there, right out there on Main Street, right? It stands to reason that when you're marketing your device, you market your device on the features and the coolness and the snazziness, and then you put the price either at the tail end or you put it on your website. I'm pretty sure Apple does that with all of their commercials, right? Or their presentations. Then I think at the very end they'll have like the price. It's like it's not a PowerPoint, but like the frame comes up with the pricing, but it's usually not contained in the promo vids and the trailers and stuff. They're just like, here you go. This is the iPhone, this is the iWatch or whatever, or the Apple Watch, I'm sorry. And excuse me. And they make it look really cool and they look really awesome, and then the price comes later. So I think the intersection that we're having and the tension point that we're having is consumers are reacting negatively, and they're invoking a lot of what I call like imperative language. An imperative is if you ought to do something or ought not to do something. These are imperatives, right? You ought not steal. You ought to tell the truth. So a negative imperative is that you ought not steal. You should not steal. A positive would be that you ought to tell the truth. So people are invoking that kind of language, and so they're orbiting around the business side of things. And so I start talking about the business side of things, and everybody's like, well, you're just a corporate shill. And it's like, well, you're framing the entire conversation around that. Michael, are you timed out or something? No, you're not timed out. Outpricing your console out of the masses, as most of the people are on the lower end, your income will take a massive hit. It does matter. Those like us that can't afford it is just a loud crowd. I don't understand what you're saying, ADR Zone. Are you saying that if they lose the lower income folks, that it'll be I don't understand what you're saying. I'm trying to understand what you're saying, but I'm also reading an article in the Discord. The other thing people in the online space forget is that Nintendo is a family brand. Parents aren't online complaining about this. They're going to buy it for their kids if they have the means. Most conversations online are more emotional than they are factual. I think that's because the algorithm gets more engagement from emotional arguments. Right, there's a lot of threads to this canvas, Ginger, for sure. You do have the I'm going to get more clicks if I yell about this, if I rage about this. Like, look at what happened with the PS5 Pro. The videos that got pushed the most were all negative rage bait about the price. Nobody did analysis of the technology and the boost in performance and then compared that and said, this is a $250, increase compared to a $450 PS5 digital. Nobody did that. Nobody did like thoughtful analysis of the tech to dollar amount, right? I keep telling people, build a PC for $1,000. Now add $250 to your budget. How much of an increase in performance did you get? To try to open people's eyes to like, look at this. Like the fact that you can get a bump of this degree for only $250 is to me is impressive. Yeah, I actually really liked Metal Eden. I put my first impressions in the show open. If you guys want to check out Metal Eden, there's a demo available right now. It's got some performance issues I'd like them to polish, though. I'm seeing some chatter that it'll be the same price, but we'll hopefully know soon enough. Right, so back to what I was saying. So there's a lot of threads to this canvas. You certainly will see voices, tweets, videos promoted that are like angry about the price. So it seems like everybody's framing this as, oh, there's massive amounts of backlash. No, I'll tell you what I think's happening. The same thing that happened with the PS5 Pro and Assassin's Creed Shadows. The loudest and the most negative voices get all the attention. So it gives the illusion that, like, there's massive backlash and everybody's angry. No, lots of people on YouTube are angry. Lots of people on Twitter are angry. The gaming public is so enormous all across the globe. So every region, city, and person in Asia, every person in Europe, every person in America, every person in Canada, all of the gamers across the entire globe, okay, that are fans of Nintendo. They like Pokemon, they like Mario, they like Nintendo. I'm confident that they're not going to look at any of this and get like so upset that demand of the product goes down. Now, I do think you will see some people bristle at the Mario Kart price. They're going to go 80? Man, didn't we just jump to 70? I think there will be people that say that. The question is, will it be potent enough, strong enough, negative enough for people to like, for it to hurt demand? You're wrong about this one. Did you see the YouTube feed in Treehouse? You're not even false. How am I wrong? I just said people being angry on YouTube don't matter. Did people being mad on YouTube about Assassin's Creed Shadows hurt its sales? Did you see where it ranked on PlayStation's download charts? You think you get to 3 million players? They're like, well, it's players and not sales. Okay, they know that there's a percentage of people on UB Plus, so they're obviously padding the number a little bit, but not by that much. They had 1 million players at the very beginning, and then 2, and then 3. All those people didn't sign up for UB Plus. And if you go to Google Trends, Assassin's Creed Shadows as a topic kept spiking back up and trending because people were talking about it, people were recommending it. It did well commercially. Now, the liars and the grifters who have zero integrity, they're not honest about anything, now they're all shifting the goalposts and saying, well, Ubisoft is in trouble and they just shut down a studio because they're disingenuous and they're liars. 19,000 employees at Ubisoft weren't going to be saved by Assassin's Creed Shadows. Anybody with any business sense knows that that's not at all what the purpose of AC Shadows was, but they're shifting to that because they lost. Yes, Ubisoft is shutting down studios. AC Shadows failed. Disingenuous, stupid, false lie argument. I'm sorry, I'm not being nice about this anymore. That is so stupid and so brain dead and so false. AC Shadows didn't fail because of studios closing down. That is quite literally a corpse talking. That is a brain dead argument. It's Ubisoft has 19,000 employees. I'm tired of being nice about this. You're saying something that's stupid. You're never, ever going to save a company of that size. You understand that the studio that worked on AC Shadows isn't the studios that got closed down, isn't the studios that made Far Cry, Rainbow Six Siege, The Division, like all these different games underneath Ubisoft. They're all these different departments, all these different studios. They're all across the world. And you think, and again, the only reason people are shifting that goalpost is because they lost. And they know they lost. They railed, they brigaded, they lied, they misrepresented. Oh, the Japanese government's angry. No, they're not. They fielded a question about whether or not if people took the game where you could destroy shrines and they destroyed shrines in real life, what would you do? And they're like, well, we would take that very seriously. They weren't talking about the game. They were talking about real shrines. Sales look to be 600,000 on Steam, so when you factor in consoles, it's not a question of selling 1 million or 2. It's a question of cost to make the game versus what it makes, which again is a reframing of the argument. Nobody ever talked about that. It was always go woke, go broke, game's going to flop, game's going to suck, nobody wants this. You're making a game for the modern audiences, and nobody wants it. Well, now we're going to talk about the budget of AC Shadows, Ginger? That was never the conversation. The people brigading and downvoting and raging about Yasuke's skin color, we're not talking about the cost to make AC Shadows versus how much revenue it generated. Everybody's just backpedaling into anything that they can scrape together to claim that the game was a failure. One game can absolutely save a company, by the way. False and untrue. You will never save a company with 19,000 employees off of one game. You won't. It's not possible. You won't. It isn't possible. They have too much property under their umbrella to be saved by one game. That's ludicrous. If a game doesn't make enough money to cover the cost, is that not going woke, going broke? No, it's not. I swear, sometimes I feel like you guys say stuff because, like, you want a reaction. You're not thinking through what you just said. So if the project is bloated and takes a long time, and they're having tech challenges, engine challenges, if they're having issues with licensure, if they're having issues with the voice actors, if they get bloated in their marketing spend, if you have C-suites that are being reckless with the budget and they're like, well, we're going to spend this much money, or we're going to hire this person, or we're going to get this person to do a cameo in our commercial, right? And so the budget mushrooms and they don't make enough money to cover the cost of development. What in the world does that have to do with go woke, go broke? Go woke, go broke as a mantra is essentially saying you made your game woke, nobody wants it, so go broke. You're not going to make any money. Your game's going to flop. Now you're trying to go to some other causality and you're like, well, if they overspent on the budget and they didn't make enough to cover their budget, haha, go woke, go broke. Shut the frick up. That's so disingenuous, and you know it's disingenuous. To suddenly invoke budget versus revenue, well, that's what we meant when we downvoted and got angry about a black guy and called a game woke. We meant that their budget was going to be really big and they weren't going to make all of their money back. What the? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't mean that. How is South of Midnight doing? I don't know. I don't know. Why does that matter to the discussion right now? My point is, there is a concerted effort to push anger and rage, so we're never actually having a real discussion. Right? You get more clicks if you scream about the price of the Pro. You get more clicks if you scream about a black protagonist. You get more clicks if you're like, oh, Nintendo is stupid, brain dead, out of touch. The backlash is enormous. And you think people raging in a chat in a Nintendo Treehouse. Do you want to know how many people were watching Nintendo Treehouse when people were spamming the chat, drop the price? You want to know? I looked. There was like 33,000 people watching the stream. Ooh, that's scary. Oh no, a company that sold 150 million Switches. Oh, the horror of a couple thousand people spamming drop the price. Ooh, they're shaking in their boots. It's like shooting a squirt gun at the ocean. Yeah, we're going to overflow the ocean. Just give us a couple hours. 33,000 people were watching the Treehouse stream, and you probably had like maybe 1,000 people spamming drop the price. Oh no. The millions of gamers across the globe have really mobilized to get really angry. Jiminy Christmas. Are the pre-orders today? No, they delayed them. Canada and the US, we can't pre-order today like we were supposed to be able to because of the tariffs. The American administration is just, hitting everybody with a tariff. Nintendo tried to get around it. They shifted production to Vietnam, and then Vietnam got hit like a day later after the announcement. So we were like, oh, we're good to go. They made plans. 2-spot from Wired Rope, vote with your wallet and shut up. No, vote with your wallet and yell. I'm okay with the yelling. Yell and vote with your wallet. Don't yell and then buy it anyway. There's no way defending $80 games no matter what you say. What do you mean? There's no way defending $80 games. First and foremost, I'm not defending $80 games. We were talking about the price of the console. Secondly, when in your mind is it okay for the price of games to go up? When? Are you extreme, and do you think that games should be 60 or 70 for forever? Or is there a point in time where you think, no, yeah, game prices can now go up? Like, that's my question. I asked that question yesterday. No one is ever, I'm certainly not, no one's ever going to throw confetti in the air and go, yay, the price of the thing that I buy went up. Goody gumdrops. Nobody's doing that. Now, yes, you might think that I'm doing that because people lie about me, clip me, misrepresent my content because they're dishonest. I've not once celebrated or defended prices going up. All I've ever said was, we should have seen this coming. Prices have barely moved for a very, very long time. And prices across all spectrums generally go up. So when is it okay for video game prices to go up? We're going to get mad no matter what. Whether it happens in 2025 or 2030 or 2035, when's it okay? If it's never okay, I don't think that's a tenable position. You can't hold the entire industry hostage and be like, no, game prices can never go up. Oh, okay. Well, the employees get raises. The studios try to expand. The studios try to invest in new technology, new innovation. Where's that money going to come from if you're basically saying no for forever when wages go up? So companies are only allowed to raise their prices when wages go up. Got it. Okay. That makes perfect sense. Where should the wages go up? Nintendo sells virtually in every country across the globe. Should they only increase the prices? What if American wages go up? Is that okay to do it then? What about the rest of the world? Wait, so if our wages go up, can they charge us more and then but nobody else? So you want a relationship between wage increases and price increases? You think you want that to happen? Average income in America went up, right? Yeah, let's imagine that happened. Well, then just raise the prices of everything. Right? I mean, that's what you're saying. It's a Japanese company, for crying out loud. What's that have to do with anything? If a game raises 15% in price, but the wage goes up 2%, how is that okay? Why not 50% of the game, but 7% for employees? Oh, I know why. So you think... So Japan has control over the average wage earn rate in America? There's nothing about this being okay or not okay. See what you're doing? You're invoking some sort of moral framing. Jake, you're invoking moral framing. Like, oh, it's not okay. Oh. Why? Well, because we don't make more money. We've not gotten enough of a raise. Huh? Oh, you're talking about the company. Oh, no, companies are never going to do that, Jake. Come on, brother. That's so reductionist. You know that's reductionist. A company is not going to say, well, we raised the price of the thing that we made by 10%. So everybody gets a 10% raise. What? No, that wouldn't... It's not that simple. Nintendo give its staff an extra 10%. Like, you can't just say, hey, we're going to start charging more to mow lawns. We're going to raise our prices by 5%. That company would then potentially bump all of their workers by like 2%, because what they're doing is they're trying to create a larger margin for themselves, because then you're safer as a company. You don't want your margin to be razor thin. You want the margin to be as big as you can get it. Everyone runs to even. When I put 15 and then 7, people lose their mind. No one's losing their mind. What I'm saying is you will commonly see that. You'll commonly see like, oh, hey, we're we're gonna raise our prices by 5%, and we're gonna increase what we pay our folks 2%, right? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a larger gap in your margin, basically. Ghost in the Garage Gaming, what's good, man? Can we keep it real? People are mad at the price hike because they see no difference in game quality or graphics. If the games look like the Series X or the PS5 graphics, mum would be the word. Well, Nintendo has promised a 10% price hike as it trims profit outlook. That was in 2023. Here's my issue with that outlook, Ghost in the Garage. If you've been gaming as long as I have, I don't look at Nintendo and expect to get God of War Ragnarok. It's like when you see the key art for Hades 2 and you're like, oh, Hades 2 is coming. Are you going to be upset when it doesn't have like the graphical fidelity and the lighting and the features of, like a Horizon Forbidden West? No, you're like, well, I don't expect that from Hades because of the genre and the art style. When I go to Nintendo, the genre and the art style, like, what did people want Mario Kart to look like? You want Yoshi to look like a T-Rex from Jurassic Park? You want it to be like, what, like photorealistic? Hades isn't an $89 game. I'm not talking about price. Hang on. I'm going to have to go round and round with my insurance company. They're saying it's not covered. How is it not covered? It was floodwaters. Like, I have flood coverage. Does it literally have to come in through the windows? Lona, you capping a little bit? I'm not capping at all. Why? So you can only charge a lot of money for your game if its graphics are good? Like if they push graphics and ray tracing and all of that? Like Mario Kart World looks incredible to me. Within the realm of Mario Kart, it looks incredible. I don't understand. Like, I've been playing Mario Kart since the first one, and that's the best looking Mario Kart I've ever seen. $80 though? I don't understand why we're fixating on the $80. What I'm talking about is Ghost in the Garage basically said that nobody would have batted an eye if the games looked like Series X or PlayStation 5 games. And I'm like, I don't expect that from Nintendo. I don't go to Nintendo for that. They're hitting their ceiling. Does that make sense? Oh, you're saying the people and the journalist Ghost in the Garage. Insurance companies pay for insurance when the actual thing happens. You're not covered. That's what I'm saying. I have flood insurance. It was a flood because it comes up through the foundation of the home. How is that not covered? What does it have to come in through the windows? Like the water level outside gets so high, it pours in through the windows? It's groundwater though? It's from a record rainfall in the region. How is that not flood? Are there different types of floods now? It came from the sky, it went into the ground, and it came into my house. What other kind of flood is there? What do I have to be like getting rushed away on a boat? Like, oh, like, yeah. It's a natural disaster. That's covered. That's literally what you pay for. That's what I'm paying them for. If it's non-flood water, wouldn't that be covered under other damage then? I don't know. They'll play the Act of God or Natural Disaster cards. But isn't that what you pay for? Like if a tree falls on your house, isn't that like from a storm or lightning? Isn't that Act of God like that's covered? Maybe because you stopped it yourself from causing more damage? That's the thing, we don't know damage. I thought they were going to have to send somebody out to assess it. In insurance, Act of God generally refers to a natural event beyond human control like a flood or an earthquake. And while some acts of God are covered, others like flood and earthquake damage are often excluded. I specifically pay for flood insurance. Specifically. No, creature, I called them back when my pipe was messing up. And they literally told me flood insurance does not apply to like your pipe messing up. They're like, it's flood insurance is quite literally for a flood. Like I literally called back when we had the pipe doing the one thing. It had a rust nipple on it where it's galvanized piping and it rusts from the inside out and it was leaking. And she's like, no, that wouldn't be covered. She's like, that's just standard home maintenance. She's like, you pay for flood insurance, as in if there's a flood in the area and it comes into the home and it damages your house. I'll call them. Oh, whatever. People wanted a more powerful Switch 2. Now they're complaining about the price. Right. That's what I'm kind of confused by. So yeah, let's get back on track here. We don't have to talk about the woes of me paying for insurance that's not insurance. It's just so American. It's such a cliche. Back to that discussion. I find it strange that people are like, you're only allowed to charge high dollar amounts for your game or even increase your prices if your games look like a PS5 game. What? That was like when somebody said Super Mario Brothers Wonder shouldn't be full price because it's a side scroller. And I'm like, huh? What? Like, what was the full price of Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown? They might be doing a sale right now. Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. How much is it? It's 40. Has it been 40 ever since it came out? Or did they drop the price? Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown price at launch. It was a $60 game. Yep, Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown was a full price game at launch. It was $60. According to Google. It says it's a full price $60 game if you're wondering and you didn't want to go all the way down the article to find it and actually say it, right? Boom. 40 at launch? That's not what Google says. Steam database pricing history. How the frick do I see the initial current price is 40. Current price, converted price, lowest recorded price. The deluxe was 60, so has Google got it wrong? I thought for sure that was a full price game. Remember being 40 on Steam? Well, then I guess we'll just go back to Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Let's go back to Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Super Mario Brothers Wonder was full price when it came out, and I remember people saying that you can't charge that much. It's a side scroller, and I was like, what the frick? That doesn't even make any sense. What does it being a side scroller have to do anything? Like, I can't be the only one that thinks it's crazy that... Hang on one second. Let's see. New Prince of Persia. I was seeing if I could find my receipt of when I bought it. I guess I don't look at games that way. I'm not like, oh, well, your Mario Kart World doesn't look like Gran Turismo or Forza, so you can't charge full price or raise your price. Lost Crown was 40. Okay, Lost Crown's a bad example then. So we got to go back to using the Super Mario Brothers Wonder as an example. Like, when I come to Nintendo, their ceiling that I hope to get from them, I feel like they're hitting. I feel like Mario Kart World looks incredible. I feel like the updates to Zelda look great. The Metroid. I keep wanting to say Samus Aran. The Metroid game looks great. Was there a side scroller that was full price? Yeah, Super Mario Brothers Wonder was full price. Metroid Dread was full price, was it not? Like, that's just what Nintendo does. They're not like, oh, well, our side scroller doesn't look as good as, I don't know, like Ori and the Blind Forest or something. They're like, so we're going to have to lower the price. I don't understand using like graphical fidelity as an indictment of a game's price. Do you understand what I'm saying? I wish Lona could have a chance to talk on different topics. The topic's going to overtake every stream for a while now. Well, the only reason I decided to dip my toe back in this debate again today was obviously because of what Doug Bowser said, but also because there's not really anything going on in the gaming news right now, right? Like, I can't control the news cycle. Nintendo basically took over the news cycle. They dropped their announcement, they dropped their games, and now people can't pre-order. They're mad about that. They can't pre-order. The prices are high on the prices are higher on one game, and then the device people think is too expensive. Nintendo also doesn't lower the price. Outside of very rare sales, Nintendo keeps their price points. I'm seeing pre-orders starting May 8th. Have they officially said anything on that? Ghost in the Garage Gaming says it's the one metric that people can actually see the progression of a game. If a game looks great, the assumption then is they put in a lot of work. I mean, I think what you're saying is fair, Ghost. I do. I just think it's a very reductionist way to look at games, to be like, well, your graphics don't look like Gran Turismo or Forza or God of War, so you shouldn't be able to charge full price for your game. And it's like, what? Yeah, they've added Hogwarts Legacy to PS Plus, along with the game that everybody is praising, which is called Blueprints, which comes out tomorrow. We'll be playing that. I will be showcasing that, and then we'll be playing that on Friday night with Madam, as long as we hit the goal, which we hit the goal pretty much every week. You guys are crazy. So has Nintendo actually said that the pre-orders go live on that date? Wait, is this real? Oh, a concept art for the Intergalactic Collector's Edition. I was like, oh my gosh. It's not real. It's like fan-made. It looked incredible. Nintendo just needs to enable backwards compat. There's no technical reason I can't play Pokemon Red on a Switch. It's just Nintendo blocking it. If they charge $69.99 for the King Kong, I think he meant Donkey Kong game, then it would have been an uproar. Would have been the same uproar. What do you mean? Oh no, you literally meant the King Kong game. Yeah. We were gonna record it. I'm so glad I didn't record it last night. I was gonna record a Titanfall 3 video. I'll end up recording that. Always keep your eyes open, boys, for those videos that hit in the evening. I should have a Titanfall 3 video that'll hit this evening around 7 p.m. Eastern. Try to support those videos. They're usually shorter, but they're usually like quick, informational, and good. Yeah, you meant the King Kong game. My thought on this is I think you can set a very dangerous precedent to act like a game can't be at full price, and if game prices start to go up, right, it can't increase its price, that the game price is directly linked to like graphics. Ghost says, I understand, but that is marketing. There's a reason stores put them in robust colors and actual pictures up front. Right, but Ghost, I really do think context is key. Like when you show me a Mario Kart and it looks as good as what they showed, that to me that's the ceiling for Mario Kart right now. Like it looks so good. The lighting, the textures, the performance. I don't know what else they really could have done with Mario Kart. Like think about it. Within the art direction and the art style of Mario Kart, what more could they really have done than what they showed us? IGN just posted 11 minutes of gameplay from the Outer Worlds 2. Yeah, if you guys didn't notice, Xbox announced their showcase for the summer. It's the Sunday after Summer Game Fest kicks off, which is June 8th. And the direct after the showcase is not Call of Duty like I thought it was going to be. It's the Outer Worlds 2, which I'm actually glad. I thought they were just going to give that slot every year to Call of Duty, and I'm like, I actually kind of like that they're going to be rotating other games into that slot. That's better than it just always being a COD direct. COD can do its thing later. Scale and what value the game has, and I don't know, value is in the eye of the beholder, but the job of Nintendo to add value to their games, open world games are worth 80 or 90. Right, and here's the thing. You're correct. I'm saying from my perspective, I look at that Mario Kart and I'm like, they've turned the volume knob up to 11. It looks incredible. The number of carts, the graphics, the lighting, it looks fabulous. And I know I'm going to play Mario Kart a bunch. I mean a bunch. I'm going to play it way more than Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'll play Donkey Kong Bonanza probably once through, have a blast, and put it down. If they go Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Fossils of the Ancients or something, like let's say there's like a third, Zelda game that comes out and they charge 80 for it, I'm not going to hesitate. Why? I know I'm going to get a ton out of that. I'm going to play that way more than, 3. I think he's going to do a fourth. Stone Spire's going to do his own little 4 single member train. Stone Spire is tempting. He's baiting. He's like, somebody drop the 20 bomb to 200. The man himself. I'm going to put a little multiplier out there, all right? 200's on pace. Actually, no. We're behind a day. It's Wednesday. We're behind a day because I took Monday off. So I'm going to give a little motivation, okay? I'll owe you guys a 20 bomb at 200. If we get to 300, I'll drop a 50. I'll drop an extra 50. I'll just do it, not a 20. So I'll do 20 at 200, but you get us to 300. We got to get back on pace. And there it is. Siriu does the 20 bomb and gets us to 200. And now we're 100 away from getting on pace. I will drop, if we manage to hit 300 today, I will drop a 50 bomb. Let's go. Thank you so much, Siriu. That's so generous. Apparently I'm going to need it. My stupid insurance company. I appreciate the support. Stupid insurance. What insurance is worthless. So annoying. Should movie prices be different for the ones that have better CGI? Yeah, right, Paul? Like, and I'm not trying to tell you what you should think. I'm just telling you what I think. What's good, Gaming Tech? Good to see you. When I looked at that Mario Kart, when I looked at that Donkey Kong, I'm like, that's worth the price of admission. I give it to me. They look great for the context of what they are. Here's another example. Okay. I think Astrobot could have been full price. It could have been. What was Astrobot? 50? I think Astrobot could have been a $60 game. Oh, it is a $60 game. Okay. Yeah. So it's not a 70, but it's a $60 game. I think Astrobot is another great example. Astrobot was worth 60. But now you could look at it and say, well, where's the ray tracing? Where's the global illumination? Where's the 4K? Are you, huh? Toasted Note says, let's get these likes up. Yeah, let's get to 300 likes. We're a little lacking on the likes, boys. And thanks for the strong turnout today, by the way. I know it's spicy. I know some of y'all are probably getting a little bit tired of the pricing debate, but this is what we do here, right? This is what we do here. We take a discussion and we bat it around and we debate it, and all viewpoints are welcome as long as you're not being nasty. Switch 2 is more expensive than PS5 in Australia. I pre-ordered already. Ah, you lucky ducks get the pre-order before we do. Read my banger comment. Tell Nintendo to send Luigi out to the insurance company. Tell Nintendo to send Luigi out. What? Huh? What the frick? Is that like a joke from like the Mario Brothers movie or something? Because of the plumbing? We're paying $750. Kojima says, tonight I'm watching Tron Legacy for the first time in 15 years. Wonder if Switch 2 launches rest of the world before US. It very possibly could. Luigi... Oh my gosh. That's so long ago. It feels like ancient history. I forgot all about that. The fact that the guy that did that, his name was Luigi. Yeah. Okay. Got it. I'm thinking plumbing. I had water in my house. Flood. Luigi. The plumbers. Sorry. You unfortunately picked the name that was, in line with what had happened, but sadly it wasn't like a tree fell on my house. It was a plumbing issue. So my brain was like, plumbing? Huh? Like Mario Brothers? The physical versions of Nintendo Switch 2 re-releases of Switch 1 games like Breath of the Wild may come with an unexpected catch. What's this about? The latest direct text on the edition cover states that the boxes include Nintendo Switch game and the Nintendo Switch 2 edition upgrade pack. Oh, so there's going to be like re-releases that will include the pack. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom will release Switch 2 editions on June 5th. They're going to retail for $70. The upgrade packs are going to be $10. Pricing varies depending on the game. The Zelda Switch 2 edition upgrade packs for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom will be $10. But I have the online, so I just get them. Yo, what's good, Happy Cloud Gamer? I'm okay with the Switch 2 with Mario Kart World for $450, but in Norway, the Switch 2 costs $750. The games are $99 USD, but Switch 1 had the same price in the USA. Yeah, I don't know why one region would be more expensive than another this time around. Genuine question. How do game companies determine the price of their games? I mean, some of it is based upon sort of the, the market and what people are willing to spend. These are the top downloaded games on PS5 for March. Isn't that interesting? Assassin's Creed Shadows, #1 in the EU, and then Assassin's Creed Shadows, #2 in US, Canada, only behind MLB The Show. Man, clearly flopped. It clearly flopped as it sits above Monster Hunter Wilds, Split Fiction, EA Sports Football Club. What a flop, chat. But it just says downloads though. It doesn't say sales. Oh, okay. Some developers charge $50 or $60 because if it's too cheap, people will think the game is poor quality. Here's something that I think will come out of this that I think would be good and gamers would be probably pleased with. Not all, but we'll see. Guys, make sure you're double checking that you have hit that like button. Get us to 300 likes. We're about 20 away right now. So, and let me drop the 20 bomb. I owe you guys a 20 bomb, and we currently have a standing incentive that if you guys can get the member count to 300 today, I'll drop a 50 bomb. We have to catch up for Monday. We're behind a day because I took Monday off because of all the flooding that we had to deal with. But here is something that I think maybe you guys will be excited about. Or maybe this will be something that you'll be glad to see happen. I think what Doug Bowser said and what Mario Kart at $80 can do for the market, and then subsequently that would benefit you, would be variable pricing does become more standard. And Expedition 33 could be one of the first examples of that. Expedition 33, I believe game length is in the 30-hour range. Expedition 33 game length. It's going to be around 30 hours if you just do the story, but if you go more completionist, like a 60-hour game. They're only charging $50 for their game. They're a newer studio. They're kind of wanting to be scrappy, competitive, probably as a newer, as well as, maybe not newer is not the right word, but smaller, as a newer/smaller studio. They probably kept production costs down, and they're able to bring a game to market that looks like it's going to be at AAA quality. From what I can tell, it looks AAA quality, or close to AAA quality, and AAA length. I mean, 30 hours as a straight run-through, up to 60, that's AAA length. And they're charging you $50 for it. So I think that could be a benefit. And look, you as the consumer can certainly influence that. If companies start to see, man, that 50 to 60 spot's actually kind of banging, and the 80 is actually not, it could trend back down. It could. You could see less companies wanting to go beyond the 70. Game biz knowledge, game prices, balance, development costs, market demand, platform, competition, and business model. While 70 is the common for new releases, prices can vary based on these factors. Do you think your time with Death Stranding has let you enjoy AC Shadows more, like taking in the journey rather than rushing through story points? I continue to think that I am sort of going through what feels like a bit of an evolution as a gamer. And one of the evidences of that, I would say, is, yes, I'm trying to come to games with expectations set to malleable. And what I mean is, I have expectations that are immovable. Think of it like down here at the foundation, down here at the bedrock. I'm never going to waver on, I want 60 FPS. I want the game to run well, right? I don't need every game to be photorealistic and blow my mind, but I tell you what, you give me that global illumination and I'm very happy. AC Shadows is just stunning, is gorgeous. And it's the global illumination that really, really helps. I mean it. It's like a magic wand. It's like, game looks so much better. It's seriously, anybody who tells you like ray tracing is a gimmick has not played AC Shadows with global illumination on a PS5 Pro, because they would not think it's a gimmick. They wouldn't. Okay, so that's Bedrock. Bedrock is give me 60, give me good performance. Now, my expectations above that, I'm trying to have expectations that are more malleable. Like, I'm just going to let the game be the game that it wants to be. So something that's going on with AC Shadows, which this is relevant to today's topic and description and thumbnail. I got AC Shadows on there because of the update that they pushed out. And one of the things that they do in the game is they do non-linear storytelling. And there are people that don't like it. I'm trying to say to the game, I'm just going to let you do this, and I'm going to see if you do it well, rather than say, well, I don't like this, it should be linear. Well, why? Why? Just let them do it and see if it works. So right now, what they're commonly doing, and this is just sort of been my experience, is they have me experience a flashback where I'm interacting with, my dad or other characters, and I'm learning lessons that then apply to the current decisions that I'm making. Should we kill this guy or let him go? Should we fight or should we try to take the path of peace? Should we be diplomatic or should we be vengeful, right? They're sort of putting these decisions before you. And in conjunction with that, you're having experiences and lessons or whatever with your dad or people in your village. And what I'm doing is I'm finding that it's actually I think, it's a very effective way of storytelling. It's kind of like in Lost, when you'd be watching an episode of Lost and there would be something happening with a particular character, and then you'd get a flashback that would explain their nervousness, anger, happiness about a particular thing, then it would make sense. You would understand, oh, that's why this person doesn't want to leave the island. Well, that's why this person really wants to get off the island, right? So Zubair says, are you saying I should respect authorial intent? That clashes with my narcissism. I can't do that. I think what it's doing, for me at least, is it's allowing me to have a broader palette of enjoyment. So instead of being like, well, no, I don't think they should have done this, and then I'm kind of grumpy, and then I'm kind of annoyed, and so then I'm not enjoying a game, not because the game is bad, but because I had expectations that were either narrow or rigid or not even set by the developer. Like, the developer didn't tell me that I was going to experience a linear story. They didn't tell me that. They didn't tell me to expect that. So why should I make that an indictment of the game's quality? Does it create a disjointed feel? Does it not make sense? No, it actually makes sense. Every time it's happened, I'm like, oh, I get what they're doing. I love going into movies and TV shows with as little info as possible. Can't have expectations if I don't know anything. I've been doing that with shows and stuff now, Zuby. I haven't watched a single trailer for any of the shows that I've rewatched and watched the Superman trailers a lot because, good golly, I was really grumpy about Henry not being cast, but I think Gunn pulled it off. That's a whole separate subject, but I'm a huge Superman fan. I love Superman. Anyways. But generally, I've been doing that with shows and movies. Like, I just won't watch trailers. And with games now, after what I experienced with Returnal and Sekiro, and now recently with Death Stranding, I walked into AC Shadows and I was like, I'm just gonna let you do what you're gonna do. I'm not gonna come in here with preconceived notions or checklists that you better do. I'm not doing that. And I am really enjoying myself. I think it's wonderful. I'm just soaking in the side quests and the world and just running through the wooded areas and the forests, and I just really like it. I really, really do. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. I thought it was going to kind of do Ubisoft open world bloat, and then I would get annoyed. It hasn't happened. It really, truly hasn't. I'm like, it's kind of pulling a Tsushima on me. I don't like it as much as Tsushima, but I always wanted to be in the world of Tsushima. I wanted to be in the game, and just, yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, I know, Paul, you've said that a lot. D-Tom says, so I said in Morning Coffee that wages have been stagnant, but disposable income has increased about 90% over the last 10 years, maybe 20 to 25% over the last 5 years. So it weakens my point because buying power has increased despite inflation. Huh. Wait, I don't understand. Personal income? Why is it going up? What is this chart that you're showing me? Are you saying, oh, is that what people spend out of their personal income? Buying power for what percentage of the population? If 10% of the population is spending 100% more, does that show up? Right, like, because people got really, 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 really wealthy during Sicky. I've reached 800 wish lists on Steam. Thanks to everyone for the support. A demo will release very soon for the first 30 minutes of the game. Are you ready? It's an indie game called The Left Behind. It's a solo developer. Solo co-op post-apocalyptic survival game. I go back and forth between the two. Changing fighting styles feels fresh and fun. Yasuke feels like a cheat code until you have to climb anything. I like playing him. The problem is he's fun, but you can just walk into a town and kill everyone with no challenge. Well, I think they wanted that to be the big switch up, because the reason I like playing as Naue is I genuinely feel like I've got to sneak. I have to sneak. I'm like, I love being... Okay, so usually in a stealth game, you don't have to be that stealthy. You can just fight if you want to fight. Right? When I play as Naue, I feel like I've got to sneak. And I love that feeling. I love being forced in a good way to be sneaky. And the stealth feels really good. Since when do you like stealth, and what have you done to Lono? I'll tell you why I typically don't like stealth. Hang on. Michael says, Switch 2 versions of Switch 1 games like Zelda have the Switch 1 version of the game and needs a patch. Doesn't that defeat the purpose of having the physical copy? Well, no, because the physical copy retains value in that you could sell it to a friend, trade it in, and then that person can do the same thing. They now have the game, and they just got to download the update. That doesn't negate the value of the physical copy. You have something physical that you can trade, sell, or lend. Does that make sense? This is why I like the stealth in Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's forced in an organic way. I could just go in and fight and just beat my head against the wall and try to get really good at the combat with her and take my lumps and try to figure it out, but I know that's less effective. I know she's going to die really quick after just one or two mistakes. I'm going to use my health rations really fast. So it feels more organic. Guys, could we get 13 more likes on the video? We had a huge day, and folks were probably just coming in for the fireworks and the clips because that's the only way they can make ad revenue and rent. But for the rest of you that are here, make sure and hit the like button. If you force me to do stealth and then your stealth is like annoying, it's like you're kind of smacking me on both sides of the face. You're like, wham wham. You have to do stealth for this mission. Oh, and by the way, the stealth's really annoying. With Naue, it doesn't feel forced. It feels like you don't have to hide, but you're really going to want to. And I think it's sensible. It looks appropriate. She's a ninja. She's basically wearing a bathrobe. Like, she's got no armor. She'd die real fast. Okay. So I think it works. I also think the stealth works well. I've only had one flub. I was in a bush and I hit the I never like when they do this. The assassination button is the same button to swing your sword, and like he moved slightly, like he just like shuffled his feet. He kind of like looked down, and for half a second the assassination cue disappeared, so I swung my sword. I kind of always wish in a game like that, like you would separate assassination from swinging your sword so that you don't do it by accident. Like assassination should just be like triangle or something. So like if he moves and I hit triangle, like nothing happens. I would just sit there instead of like, oops, he moved a little bit and the button cue disappeared, so you swung your sword. I've only had one little flub like that. Generally speaking, I feel like the stealth has been very, very good. I feel like it's been very, very good. hang on. Ginger said something a bit ago. What was it? What were we talking about? Oh, huge Superman fan. That's what it was. Yeah. I don't want to get sidetracked on that. On that note, I really like the stealth in Tilu too. Oh, what did you say? Oh. Yes. I liked the stealth in Tilu as well. That's another game where I felt like the stealth was organic and healthy. Did you like AC Mirage? I played it for a little bit and was enjoying it, and I put it on the backlog. I don't know if I'll ever get to it, though. I don't know if I'm ever going to really want to go back to like the classic AC feeling. Regarding your query, full versions of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 Edition will both be made available digitally and physically. This means if you purchase the Nintendo Switch 2 game in physical, you will receive a cartridge with the upgrade already on it. Well, they misspelled Nintendo in that email. I don't know if this is genuine. However, if you only purchase the upgrade for the Nintendo 1 Switch 1 version for the game, you will receive a download code. Like they literally misspelled Nintendo in this response. Where did you get that, Paul? Unless like a real person typed that as a reply to somebody. It's support email. Yeah, I mean, I guess they just accidentally misspelled it or something. Tilu 2 can be played super aggressive, and it's so fun. You basically have to play like you're John Wick. Yeah, I like how, again, I think that's another game where the stealth is properly... I feel like it's properly motivated. I do. Tilu 1 you cannot play as aggressive. Yeah, Tilu 1 you're quite a bit more restricted with what you can do. You have to be, I feel like you've got to be a little bit more, it's a little bit more stealthy, sneaky, save your ammo, and then the Tilu 2 you're empowered to be quite a bit more aggressive. Can we highlight how Astrobot won another Game of the Year at the BAFTAs plus 4 other awards? Yeah, I mean, the anti-Sony crowd, yeah, they're just in a tough spot, They're in a tough spot. I love it because I think a lot of them are just, I don't know, a lot of people that contributed to the console warring and the anti-Sony nonsense, a lot of the dishonesty, a lot of these people were extremely toxic, toward me, and I'd never even interacted with them. I kind of love it. I think they deserve it because I think a lot of them are just nasty, dishonest people. And so I love to see the continued trend of their irrelevancy. Like the general gaming public is just going to continue to see through all that nonsense. All the diatribes like against Astrobot. I love it. I think one of my favorite things is when, people that have been willfully dishonest sort of lose their footing and their relevancy and their grip. I think that's exactly what should happen over time. And Astrobot just continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. Just salt in that wound that everybody decried as like a joke and a fail and an L, and then it's like sweeping it's like sweeping award ceremonies. Super Googly with the super chat says, what are people still on about the price increase? Just don't, no. Today was more about the cost of the console. Yeah, there were people that took issue with the cost of the console, and Doug Bowser was like, if you can't afford it, we've got other Switches to buy. And I don't agree that that's the same as what Don Matrick did with the Xbox, because I think that was a very different scenario. People don't agree with me, and that's fine. That's fine. But I see it as one of the reasons I don't see it that way is because he literally said what I predicted they were going to do. And again, people didn't agree with me. So being that I've been more right about the Switch 2 in this situation than they have, I would say I have a little bit more credibility on this topic. I said that they were going to set the price around $450 to $500. I said they were going to slide it alongside the other Switch devices, call it the Switch 2, and they were going to have Switch Lite, Standard Switch, Switch OLED, and the Switch 2. That's how I said they were going to position it. That's quite literally what they've done. So the people that want to be like, oh, it's a total colossal L, it's exactly what they did with Xbox, I don't think so. They're not positioning this as this they're not treating it like a generation thing like the way like Xbox and PlayStation do. They're not. Like they literally included Switch 1 in the marketing for the Switch 2. They're seeing this as adding to the suite of games. Like if you go watch the trailer when they start talking about like what you can do with different games and stuff, it's like you can clearly see they don't see this thing as like a, yeah, you better get this thing, you better replace your Nintendo Switch 1. They see them as almost running congruent with each other. I'm trying to find the trailer where they even showed like you playing multiplayer games together with other Switches in the room. And it showed Switch, like a standard Switch and like a Switch Lite. I'm not sure what trailer that was in, but it was in the Switch 2 Direct. There was a time where like that was a part of the marketing. Was it in the overview trailer? I can't remember. I think the overview trailer is just showcasing the device. Yeah, that's not it. Are they continuing parallel development? I don't know if there's going to be a definitive moment where they're like, we're done with the Switch 1. And there's the Agents of Chaos. Ryan pushes us past 200. Thank you so much, Ryan. We do have a standing incentive today because we are behind. So I'm trying to help out. If we hit 300 by the end of the day, I'm dropping a 50 bomb on chat. I'm trying to find the spot in the Direct where they showed other Switches like working with the Switch 2. I can't find it. They had them like all in the room like playing games together or something. Is this it? No, this is the chat. Where did they do that? Was it before the chat or after? I can't remember where they did that. They were showing something about was it the game sharing or something? It might have been that. It might have been a separate video where they basically were showing other, like the Switch Lite was there and other things were there. And Ryan gifts a member as well. He doesn't just renew his own, he pays it forward. Was it the game? It might have been the game. I think it was the game sharing. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a slower process for them. Like, I don't think there's going to be like this definitive moment where they're like, we're done with the Switch 1. I think they'll just start announcing games and you'll start slowly but surely, you just won't hear about the Switch 1 anymore. It won't be, the games won't be landing there. I think you're not understanding that a lot of people see Nintendo as a secondary device and they value that kind of device less than what Nintendo is asking for the Switch 2 and the games. Hang on one second. A 5 spot from SDO. Why is the super chat goal busted? It's not updating. What if third-party games drop at 70 on the Switch 2 and it's only first-party that are priced at the 90? Does that change anything? Huh? Why would first-party be 90? Here's the problem with what you're saying, Corey. I don't think that's true for a lot of people. I completely agree with Corey. The hardcore fans will buy. Will I buy? Right, like I think a lot of the hardcore Nintendo fans, like this is they love the Switch. They take it with them everywhere, especially in the markets where, you know, gaming on the go is more common. Yeah, it's like the number one handheld, right? Like 150 million sales purely as an additive cost. Now, I could see you push back and say, well, yeah, it sold 150 million. It had a low price point, and people see it as additive, so a lot of people bought this and they added it to their experience. My pushback would be that they seem to be positioning this as a far more serious device, and I think price point is a part of that psychological positioning in the person's mind. If they positioned this as just another additive device for like $300 or something like that, I don't think they would be appealing. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to appeal to that broader market. I've got a video on the channel where I said Nintendo's growing up. It was based purely off that first trailer. The first trailer felt very much like an Apple trailer. It was very like they're trying to make this handheld look like a more serious handheld gaming device. I think the price point communicates that that is what they think of it. They think it is a more serious device. It can play Cyberpunk. It can play Elden Ring. It can play Zelda, Metroid, and Mario Kart at 60 FPS. So they're positioning it to, I think, extend beyond the reach of the hardcore fans, and price kind of helps with that. It communicates value. If you're a serious gamer and you got a Pro or a PC or a Series X, and you see a $300 Switch 2, a lot of people would just internally assume, it's just going to be another weak device. But you see $450 and you're like, wait a minute. Wait, it's got a cooling fan in the dock? Wait, you're going to be able to play 4K 60 Metroid? You're going to be able to play 1440 60 Zelda? You're going to be able to play 60 FPS Mario Kart? Like, I don't know. I think price plays a role in the consumer seeing value. And if you just came out with another $300 Switch, that might passively communicate to people, yeah, it's just a new Switch. It's not going to be really worth taking a look at unless you're like a hardcore Nintendo fan. It's still a weak device. Well, of course it is. It's a handheld. All handhelds are not that strong right now. There's not a handheld in the market that's like blowing me away with respect to like power and performance. I don't think you're going to start to really see that until you see, you know, things like frame gen and upscaling get leverage in a better way on the handheld tech. But then you show them all it can do and the games it can run. That's what the marketing's for. But I feel like the Nintendo Direct successfully did that. The Nintendo Direct had like 40 something games that they announced during it. 10 of them were exclusives. Like, I don't know. I feel like they went pretty hard. And I feel again, like here's the perfect spot to look at. I feel like they're positioning this as a device that somebody's going to say for $450, this is a more serious Switch. This is not the Switch 1. I think the price communicates that this is not just some like chintzy, you know, little handheld that's going to run games at 30 and, you know, not really be worth my time. After that show, a cheap price would I agree. After that show, a cheap price would not hurt the image of the device. Oh, wait, you're saying that after this showcase, they could have had a cheap price, and you're saying it wouldn't hurt the perception? I kind of feel like it would. I feel like if they did all this, positioned all this, showed all this off, and then they were like, oh yeah, it's $299, I think that would have communicated like, what? It's cheaper than a Switch 1 OLED? Like, I don't know. When I look at their pricing structure of the Lite, the Standard, the OLED, and this, I don't know. It just makes sense. It's like $200, $300, $350, $450. It's like ding, ding, ding. This is the strongest, you know, Switch in the market. LCD model is cheaper. The OLED isn't. They showed all it can do. If it was 300 or 350, people would have been saying they would buy two. People like me would be on board. Again, I'm thinking about the broader market though. The audience. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of audience members that would say that 300 communicates. Think of it this way: if you didn't buy the Switch 1 because you really felt like the smaller amount of performance really made it unworth it, you would see this come out at 300, and psychologically, I think you would internalize and say they haven't really increased the value of this. It's just another $300, cheapy little handheld. Like a Portal's $200. Like a Portal is literally just a controller with a screen on it that can remote play and cloud game, and this to be only $100 more. I really do feel like people are like, I don't know. I think that internalizes psychologically as like it's lower in value. It's only 300. To be precise, I think it's a fair price and the people will want to pay it. I think you only get to 150 million by pulling in more casual fans. Maybe they know the effect of a price drop and this is padded with that as an anticipation. Maybe holiday next year they drop all their prices to try to move through all of the Switch ones, the OLEDs and the lights. And then they also then decide after that's all done, then they also drop the price of the Switch 2. Consumers aren't going to complain about a good price. No, I'm not saying they'd complain, Yandid. I'm saying, so when I was doing graphic design, I met with a guy, his expertise was marketing, and I was charging, like $25 an hour or something. And he's like, you need to triple your rates tomorrow. He's like, you should be charging $75 an hour minimum. He's like, you're going to get better consumers. Your people are going to take you more seriously. They're going to think that you really value your work. People that see you as cheap are going to be like, this guy probably doesn't do very good work if he's that cheap. And I think people that skipped out on Switch 1 and saw it as like kind of an additive, chintzy, weak device, seeing the Switch 2 at the same price point, internally would psychologically think like value of this device is no better than the Switch 1 then. Not everybody, but I do feel like that plays a role. When you see a low price on a device like that, you're going to kind of internalize and think like, that might be kind of cheap. $299, again, that's only $100 more than a PlayStation Portal. That just feels incredibly low in the grand scheme of devices in the market. Super Googly with another super chat. Funny how I'm the biggest Nintendo hater on this channel, and I'm going to buy two Switch 2s with Mario Kart at launch. I don't think you're a Nintendo hater. I think you were a Switch 1 hater. You always struck me as a Switch 1 hater. You just really, really disliked the Switch 1. I didn't buy the Switch to play third-party games. It'll be the same for the Switch 2. It's the best way to play Nintendo first-party games. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not getting it for third-party either. It would be a super low and highly aggressive price, and they'd have no pressure on them, and they have no pressure on them to do that. I think that's good insight, Zubair. They don't have pressure on them to say, we need to be aggressive with our pricing. They're like, no, we're Nintendo. It's probably better to actually, if they curb down demand even a teeny bit with the price point, that probably actually benefits them because then they can meet that demand more easily. I think you're right. Like, nobody feels a 5090 is worth $3,000, but a $450 Switch doesn't seem that bad. Didn't Bowser do a Don Matrick? There are people that think that. I don't agree. I think it's very different. I think the way they positioned the Xbox One requiring internet and him saying, if you don't have internet, you can get the 360. I think that's very different than saying, if you can't afford it, we have lower cost Switches. I think Nintendo is positioning the Switch 2 in a very different way. I think because they're doing what I predicted, I see it differently. I said I thought they were going to do that. I said I think they're going to position the Switch 2 right alongside the OLED. It's going to be light, Switch 1, OLED, Switch 2. Like I said, that's how they were going to do their pricing structure. And since they've done that, I didn't find his comments to be that alarming. It's like, well, yeah, if you can't afford it, then just buy a Switch 1 OLED or something. You know, once we tax those penguins, the prices will drop. I mean, those penguins are going to pay up. They really are. They're going to pay up, boy. They're going to do it. We're going to get rich off of them. If they walked out at $299, I'd say this device is cheap and not worth my money. Right, like if you see like a Switch 1 at $299, a Switch 1 OLED at $350, and they walk out with this thing in the same price structure, you'd be like, wait, what? Like, I don't know. I think it communicates an increase in value and an increase in power. It does. Like, this is not a Switch 1. Just like you can buy a PS5 digital and buy the disc drive, you just sell the Switch 2 without the dock with an upgrade path. I just thought it would be stronger. See, I wasn't interested in the tech. I was interested in the performance of their games. Does that make sense? Everybody's different. But for me personally, I was not like, hey, this thing better have this chip, that chip, this much memory. I needs this CPU. No, I didn't get into the tech side of it. No. I thought it better run their games well. Mario Kart, your new mainline Marios, stuff like that. 4K 60 on the big screen's a massive step up. That's what I'm saying. Like, being able to play Metroid, the new Metroid game at 4K 60 on my big screen, like, that to me, I'm good, bro. Let's go. This Switch 2 to me is going to run right there alongside parallel with my PS5 Pro as a mainstay in my home, and I'm pumped. I am. And here's what happens. You know, people will, call me a corporate shill for saying that, but I don't give companies my loyalty. I give them my money. I'm not loyal to Nintendo. I've been very critical of them. I hope they lose the lawsuit against Pocket Pair. I don't like them suddenly doing all these patents. I think that's terrible for the industry and terrible for the market. So I'm very much, I said for a while there that it's difficult to be a Nintendo fan when that's what they've been doing in the market. Like, I don't like them doing that. That's bad for gaming, right? Jeff Grubb's claiming the Titanfall 3 stuff is not real. After a leak suggesting that it's almost complete, Grubb says, this isn't real. I'm sorry, it's not real. He went on to talk about Respawn having a small team, probably messing around with games that have Titans in them. Does he have something like a prototype? I would guess so. I don't know for sure, but I would certainly assume as a safe thing to think. Now, is that going to get announced in 2025? No way. He doesn't know the fact that EA's been on a trend of canceling various games from Respawn. Do not expect an Unreal 5 single-player campaign, Titanfall 3 with full multiplayer suite, Grubb said. I'm not sure where this is coming from, but don't get your hopes up for Titanfall anytime soon. I feel like, hasn't Grubb been wrong recently, though? Like, he's been right, but I feel like he's been wrong recently. I mean, I suppose if he's got contacts at the company and they're like, no. Like, it's hard to me, falsifying a rumor. Yeah, that Karma PS5 console is terrifying. One of the hardware rumor guys was saying that the dock triples the frequency of the chip in the Switch 2. Triple? That's nuts. You like Grubb, but he's wrong a lot. I don't care if an insider's wrong. I think they're going to, they're going to get bad intel. That's going to happen. But I don't know. I feel like recently I feel like he's had some ones that turned out to not be. Yeah, he went live to talk about it. Yeah. That's where Insider Gaming grabbed the quote. They must have been watching him. This guy says, I don't like you. It's a good thing that I don't care at all if you don't like me. People are really split on my marathon video. They really are. They're either like 100% in agreement with me. They're like, yeah, I think there's a lot of mistakes they're making here. They don't think it's going to do well. They think extractions don't have a lot of draw, blah, blah, blah. And then there are people that are like extremely angry. And they're like, the one person's like, you sound bitter. And I'm like, bitter? I like literally said that the game could be great and fun and that I think people are probably going to enjoy it. And I don't know. People want to invoke my history with Bungie, which I think is funny because they're just admitting that they don't watch my content because I've annoyed people with my willingness to defend Bungie as an authority on live service games. Like I've been very much in their corner whenever that subject comes up. I'm like, no, I think they're totally in the position to commentate on live service. And then people get so mad. Like, why are you defending them? So I love when people project onto me. They're like, oh yeah, you're clearly bitter. And it's like, yeah, you've really got me pegged. Longtime Bungie Destiny fan. I doubt they will handle Marathon with care when they've let Destiny kind of fizzle out. Those are the same people who say you're a corporate shill. Well, there's a pretty common theme in the gaming space. It's a pretty common theme where if you're saying something that somebody doesn't like, they'll just jump to whatever insult applies. You know what I mean? Knowing yourself and you're biased enough to walk with balance is important. I know I really want the game to be good, so I'm taking all the takes with a realistic amount of salt. Like if you're defending something, then you're a shill. If you're tearing something down, then you're just a hater. You know what I mean? It's like they literally, it doesn't matter if the insults contradict. Well, you're just a pony. Well, now I guess I'm a what do they call Nintendo people? Nintendrones or something? You know what I mean? It's like it's literally just somebody admitting they're an insecure child. Like they don't have the ability to engage in the discussion, so they're just like, well, whatever insult applies here, shill, hater, whatever. Yeah, that's just the nature of the spaces that we occupy. No way around it. I have a feeling that Starfield could get announced going to PlayStation at the Xbox Showcase. What makes you feel that? To be fair, some people really are shills and haters, but there's usually evidence. Yeah, I would say that there's usually evidence. Like if every video is got somebody's face with tears on it and they're constantly, like making fun of people. Like, well, then, yeah, you could say, well, that guy's making, or that girl's making salt content. They're a salt farmer. To less of a standard than Sony and Microsoft, by entering into the arena of a more mature console like Sony and Microsoft, they should fall subject to the same criticisms. Well, I don't agree because they didn't position the device as a next-gen powerhouse. They positioned the device as a console handheld hybrid that can hit good levels of performance in their games. How would you define failure for Marathon? Like, what would it have to do or not do? I mean, for me, failure for Marathon is if they get 6 months to a year out and the player numbers have dwindled significantly. Like if somebody's like, oh, through marketing and through sponsored streams, they managed to sell a lot of copies of Marathon. I'm like, okay, that to me is not impressive. Like Bungie, with the help of Sony's marketing spend and with the help of Sony's marketing reach, and with Bungie's ability to hype people up, I don't have any doubt they're going to make a good amount of money. Like, I don't think the game's going to, like, flop on its face. I've never argued that it's going to flop. I've just continued to say, I think they're really setting this game up to fail. I don't think you're going to garner enough people to have a long-standing player base. I really don't. I think like 6 to 12 months in, you're going to have a significant problem with player base numbers. It doesn't strike me as a game that will get enough re-engagement. I haven't seen gameplay. I'm not basing this off of gameplay. I'm basing this off of everything they have said and how they're setting it up. Think about it. It is a $40 live service PvPvE extraction game that's intense and not for everyone. Okay? That, to me, I feel you're setting the game up for failure. You're not going to get enough players in the beginning to hit a high enough peak to then fall to a sustainable floor to then get enough regular re-engagement over the months and years. I just don't think so. I think you get to the 6-month mark, you get to the 12-month mark, and I think you're going to have a problem with player numbers. That's been my thought for a very long time. Now, to be fair to me, I have always said, and this was before Concord released, I said that out of Concord, Fair Games, and Marathon, I said that I thought Marathon had the best shot. I said, I think Marathon has the best shot. I thought Concord's going to fall flat on its face because it's just their version of a hero shooter. Nobody asked for that. Fair Games, a competitive heist game, I don't think that has a snowball's chance in hell. No. And then when I looked at Marathon, I said, out of the three, if you forced me to place a bet on which horse actually has the best chance, Marathon has the best chance out of the bunch. Concord flopped, as a lot of us thought it would. I think Fair Games is... it wouldn't surprise me if Fair Games doesn't even see the light of day, but we'll see. Marathon has the best shot because Marathon is bringing something creative to a genre, and we've seen that work before. They brought Heroes to BR. It worked for Apex. They brought Heroes to econ-based, strategic shooter like, Counter-Strike. They did that with Valorant, right? They're bringing something. They're bringing what feels like a creative spin on the extraction shooter. I think that gives it a shot. But I'm here to tell you, they're setting it up to fail. You're charging $40 for it. It's an extraction shooter. You're telling people that it's not for everyone and that it's intense. And you're going to get all these streamers to play it and glaze it up and talk about how amazing it is. And I'm like, okay. We've been here before, and the Emperor sometimes doesn't have any clothes on. I don't know what to tell you, man. I feel like we've seen this with games. We've seen that push. We've seen that marketing push. We've seen that streamer, the streamers get intoxicated by the new car smell, and then the sponsorship money runs out, and the streams start to dissipate, and people start to go back to their home games. They start to go back to their Fortnites and their Apexes and their Warzones, and I think that is just going to be the natural way of anybody who tries to do something like this. And I think that when I look at Marathon, I'm very interested. We're going to co-stream the thing this Saturday. You want to know the thing I'm the most interested in? The hook. What's the hook? Why am I re-engaging with your game 9 months from now? Why? If you don't have a compelling answer to that question, and if there's somebody that knows how to answer that question, it's Bungie. If you do not have a compelling answer to that question, you're done. You're done in 6 months, maybe less. You've got to have a compelling answer to that question. Bungie's core audience isn't even excited for Marathon. The old Halo fans are excited to see Bungie's next game, Destiny, but most of the Marathon flop. So most want to see Marathon flop, so attention's spent on Destiny. It's not really going to be a good extraction game if it's not painful. Like Phil Spencer said at the podcast last year, staying only 4 games because of PlayStation. That was a lie. Plus, Microsoft's gone the day before by announcing games at Gamescom. Oh, that's why you think Starfield's going to get announced, Ice Queen? The Cycle Frontier and Level 0 Extraction would like a word. Video of the game got leaked on Twitter. I thought that was fake. I thought Gaz was goofing around. Didn't he just upload a clip of Metal Eden? I thought he was just having a giggle. We haven't seen the marathon footage. Now hang on a second, Camille. There have been really, really good games like X Defiant. And then they struggled to maintain a player base. Like, it doesn't. The game could look amazing and could be super fun. That's okay. Why am I re-engaging with your game 9 months from now? Why? It's an extraction shooter. What, you know what I'm saying? That is the thing I'm the most interested in. I'm not interested in the gunplay. I'm not interested in the graphics or the performance or the art style. Do you want to know why? Because Bungie's going to nail all of those things. Maybe that's the video I should have made. Bungie's going to make a great game and it might not matter. Bungie can make incredible shooting mechanics. They're experts at map design. They understand how to create really, really good art direction, from gun design to the characters to the world. That might not matter. Do you want to know what I'm interested in? The hook. What is your reason? Answer the question. I've always said this about live service games. I'm being super consistent. I've always said this. It doesn't matter if you build a fun content loop. The assumption is that you have a fun content loop. That's like the assumption. If you don't have a fun content loop, then what are we even talking about? So that's assumption number one, is that you have a fun content loop. Why am I going to keep playing your game? I've always said, too many companies have approached live service with technical answers to that question. And the answer to that question is not technical, it is psychological. Oh, why am I going to keep coming back and playing your game? Well, we're going to do events and have a battle pass and seasons. Those are technical answers. That's all technical. That's the what. That's not the why. That's the what you're building. Oh, we've got seasons and events, and we'll add new heroes or new guns. That's the what. That's not the why. The why is so much harder to put your fingers on. It's got to be, and listen, the company that knows how to answer this question is Bungie. They had a behavioral brain scientist help them build Destiny 1. He had them, he basically helped them. I think his name was John Hobson or something like that. He was a behavioral brain scientist, and he helped them think through cycles and loops and what the brain will sustain and what the brain will reject and what the brain will get tickled by and will say, I want more of that, and what the brain will say no to. Do you ever consider the fact that somehow, there was like a finely tuned drop rate in Destiny that kept people playing for long periods of time? It's like they knew if you played this much, we can make your drop rate this much because it'll increase your commitment. You'll keep coming back. But then they also know, and you know this is true, your buddy that didn't play as much as you, he seemingly had the best RNG. Why? His drop rate was finely tuned to his play habits. Why? Because they knew his brain was different than your brain. You think they did that by accident? You think that was all just they fell backwards on a banana peel and slipped into that? No, they knew exactly what they were doing. They're the masters. They are the absolute masters of manipulating the brain of the player to think that just one more, or, oh man, I'm going to come back and play next time. Like, they're very, very good at it. Is that confirmed or just speculation? I'm about as confident as you could be in something, Tenor, that if you took long breaks from that game, your drop rates were given a buff. Because when you would come back and your buddy would be playing, he'd play like one raid every 2 or 3 weeks, that was always the guy that got the exotic. But if you're in there grinding every day, I am convinced that the game analyzes your behavior and it adjusts your drop rates. I think there are individual finely tuned drop rates in Destiny 1 and 2, always has been, always will be, because that literally is how you get people to play at their maximum. Your maximum is different than your buddy's maximum. They want you playing at your maximum. Your buddy's maximum might be like once a week or once every other week. Guess how you get him to keep hitting that maximum? He has to have a drop rate that is in tune with his player habits. Do you understand? Let's say your buddy's name is Steve, and Steve's maximum is he plays for 3 hours every other week or once a week. That's his maximum. They're not going to keep him at his maximum if his drop rate is the same as yours and you play for 3 hours a day. You're playing for 3 hours a day. How do they keep you at your maximum? They got to lower your drop rate. They do. They've got to lower your drop rate to keep you at your maximum. They have to. But they've got to increase his drop rate to make sure he stays at his maximum. Because if not, he'll play a couple times and be like, I'm never getting anything. Bungie has a psychologist on staff. It's just RNG. RNG's either really bad or horrendously bad. No. No, I don't believe it. I firmly believe this isn't conspiracy theory. I'm not trying to red pill you into thinking things about Bungie and Destiny or anything like that. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you they finely tune the drop rates because that's how you maintain a cascade of player behavior. The guys that play 3 hours a week and the guys that play 3 hours a day. There's a reason that you do that. You've been manipulated into doing it. Did you ever wonder why people talked about Destiny in the ways that they did? A lot of people would talk about it like a spurned lover. Why? Because the game manipulated you so much that you had strong emotional feelings about everything that happened in that game. It's very much a manipulative relationship to where people, oh man, they talked about Destiny in ways that didn't even make any sense. But then when you consider how the game manipulated you over the years and years and got you to keep playing and trying and grinding, and eventually you would hit a breaking point or a frustration point. They were always trying to keep you from hitting that frustration point, that snapping point of you can stretch that player's patience for so long and then eventually you got to let go and give them the thing. Because if you stretch it too long, they'll quit. Their patience will snap. It took 45 clears 3 times a week for Touch of Malice to drop. But Salvation's Edge, the exotic, dropped on the second clear. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying, Liquid. I'm not saying it's a permanent thing because you play that much, your drop rate's always terrible. What I'm saying is they 100% manipulate drop rates for players dependent upon their behavior in the game. They do. That 100% is something that they've always done. I believe it. I believe that's how they got people to play in the way that they did. Yeah, back in 2015, it was reported that Destiny used behavioral psychology to make Destiny appealing. What was his name? I swear his name was John Hobson, wasn't it? Yeah, right here. I told you. Speaking at the GDC 2015, Bungie's John Hobson discussed how the developers so carefully recreated a game that was meant to hook players and keep them coming back. The answer, behavioral game design. The study of linking behavioral psychology to the tasks and the rewards in-game and observing a person's reactions and behaviors once faced with them. You still think that they didn't fine-tune your drop rates? 3 years before the release, Bungie began testing it with a large group of people. Short campaigners, long campaigners, short omnivores, long omnivores, the specialists. Okay, 4 different player types, right? Known for being the ones who would dabble in all types of content, Bungie focused on appealing to the so-called omnivores of the group. Reports during the test, players were told to provide contextual feedback by using specially mapped buttons assigned to different emotions. Players within the testing group had the option of admitting they were confused, frustrated, or happy, depending on how the last encounter made them feel. Using expertise behavioral psychology, Hobson played a role in helping the team create something that would provide players with satisfying rewards after taking too many risks. It turned out to be a successful approach for Bungie, as Destiny was one of the best-selling games of the last year. The average player's time spent in a game comes out to 77 hours. That would have been discovered by now? I don't think so, Chris F., because it would be so difficult to deduce it. It'd be so difficult because, like, everybody's playing completely different rhythms of time and length of time. It would be almost impossible to curate it'd be impossible. Well, how long did you play? Well, I played for 2. I played for 3. I played for 4. I played for 5. I played for 6. Well, when was the last time that you played? When was the last time that you played and got something? You would not be able to get enough data points to figure it out. Because it's not just about like, well, how often does Steve play? It's Steve plays 3 hours a week. How long has it been since his best drop? And Stone Spire is trying to bait a 20 bomb, and he has us at 205 with 3 singles. The man himself, he wants somebody to bump the line to 225. We have a standing incentive right now that if we get it to 300 to catch up by missing a day, I'm going to drop a 50 bomb on chat. I'm going to give 50 members. I did 70 runs of Vault of Glass in D2 and gave up on the game roughly after that. I was so sick of it. I came back here and there, but never got hooked again. Uninstalled a few months ago. Also, what's good, Lona? What's good, J-Post? Destiny was originally published by Activision, and Activision is known for manipulating its player base. Yeah, I don't need proof. I don't need proof to know that the way that Bungie managed over the years to get people to play and play and play and play and play, all in different intervals, all in different ways, but still with the same sort of recurrence of you come back at some rhythm. I think it's impressive. So I think, to get back to the subject, I think if there's a company that has a good answer to the question, why am I going to keep coming back and playing your game? I think Bungie can have an answer to that question. I do. That's why I think Marathon, out of the 3, Concord, Fair Games, and Marathon, I've always felt Marathon has the best shot. But I do think they're setting it up to really struggle. I think the $40 price point's a huge mistake. I had so many people angry on my video. They're like, I'm so tired of people like you that want everything for free. I'm like, I don't want everything for free. I think that the free-to-play market within, I think the free-to-play market within the realm of, PvP live service games has just really set the expectation. You're fighting a losing battle. I don't want everything for free. I'm actually typically called a corporate shill because I'm willing to spend high dollar amounts for valuable games and property. I don't want everything for free. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. You can shut the door, Mama. You can shut the door. Oh, I thought you did. Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, Mama. I didn't. You're welcome, girl. People said you want everything for free, while other people said you're a corporate shill. I love it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Went from corporate shill to freeloader. Exactly. And I was like, I'm not saying I want everything for free. I'm saying you're losing. It's a losing battle. Okay, so think of it this way. You're bringing a game to the market that appeals to a certain type of gamer, okay? Marathon is going to appeal to a certain type of gamer. Do you want to know where a lot of those gamers hang out? They hang out in Fortnite, Apex, and Warzone. They do. It's undeniable. Don't even try and tell me that that's not true. You know that it's true. These are people who like to play shooters. They like to fight against other players, okay? They do. I'm not saying the entire target audience, but a big portion of the target audience of a game like Marathon, they're playing Warzone, they're playing Apex, they're playing Fortnite, okay? And when you're going to charge $40, you're automatically making a lot of those people say, no thanks. Why am I going to give you $40 for your extraction game when I can just play these free games over here? Do you want proof of what I'm saying? Because I can give it to you. We've talked about this with respect to the culture of non-purchase because of Game Pass. And the Xbox guys always saying, I'll wait for it on Game Pass, bragging about the fact that they don't buy games. It created a culture of people that are like, why would I buy games? I'm just going to use Game Pass. Okay? And listen, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, if that's what your mindset is, if that was the impact that Game Pass had on you, then okay, great. But the same thing has happened with free-to-play games like Fortnite, Apex, and Warzone. People are like, why would I pay for a game like that? There's these free ones over here. And it's not just a matter of it being free. It's a matter of it being what's called a black hole game. A game that's like a black hole that people just typically end up coming back to. Like, that's just kind of where they live. And they know they do that. Like, the player knows, right? The player knows that they typically do that. They're like, well, I'm probably going to end up back over here, so why would I bother spending the money? Why would I bother spending the money? So I'm going to spend $40 to come play your game, which I will likely end up back over here at home base anyway. I'll let you know. That's what the player, again, I'm speaking for the general, playing public here that plays those games. A lot of them are going to say that. They're going to say, well, why do I spend the 40? I know I'm probably going to end up back over here playing Fortnite, Apex, or Warzone anyway. So it's not that I want everything for free. It's just that I think you're setting yourself up for somewhat of a losing battle, because you're essentially giving people a really easy reason to just say, yeah, I'll just skip. I do blame Game Pass for a lot of these conversations that we keep having. I said this morning, I call them frugal fanatics. They're so frugal that they sort of look at everything through that lens of frugality. Free brings on the cheaters too. I mean, it does, but you have to understand that most of the people that are cheating are paying a monthly service fee for that cheat. Do you honestly think they really care about a $40 price point? My son is that exact person. As soon as he saw Marathon had a price, he said, why would I buy that when I can just play Fort? So basically the hook better be good. That's right. Listen, I have no problem making a video next week after that event and saying, I might have been wrong. This game might have the secret sauce. If there's one thing that I've done for the last 10 years, it's analyze live service games and their pitch and their hook. And I'm also quick to say, I was wrong. I got no problem making that video. If I come out of Saturday, I'm like, they might have it. This might work. I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. If there's somebody that can adequately answer the question, why are you going to keep coming back and playing this game? If there's somebody that's equipped to answer the question well, it's Bungie. But their history with PvP and Destiny, it gives me a lot of pause. So I'm saying we may see the hook when they show us the gameplay. I don't really know much at all about the game outside of its name. I'll tell you what would give me the most confidence coming out of Saturday. I'm going to throw down this kind of as the gauntlet. If the hook is strong enough that I want to play. I think that will be the most compelling and the most convincing thing to me. If the hook is so strong that Lono's saying, I actually kind of want to play this now. Because right now I'm like, I don't want to play PvPvE. You guys know that. You guys know that I'm not a fan of PvPvE. No thank you. I'm good. I got my buddy watching Lost again. That's the adamantium hook right there. That's what I'm saying. Like, if the hook is so strong that I'm like, bro, hang on. You think the reference to 3 days in? Oh, there's a ton of Christian and philosophy influence in the game for sure. Oh, I'm sorry, in the show. It's just not into the idea of losing my stuff because some nerd's camping extraction point. I'll tell you what show he lost. I tell you one of the challenges they're going to face. If the pain isn't potent, then the gain isn't either. Do you see? There's a relationship there. It's like, if the pain isn't potent, oh my gosh, I just lost all my stuff, or I just died or whatever. If that pain's not really potent, then it's probably pretty likely that the gain isn't potent either. It's like, well, then what, if there's no real pain, then what did you really lose? The degree to which you lost is conversely related to the degree to which you can win. So it's like, you've got to make it painful. There's got to be a potency to the pain, because if not, then what's the real risk? What's the real gain? And that is a significant challenge, because if somebody pays $40 and they're playing for a week or two and they have 1 or 2 bad nights in a row, I'm serious. I think a lot of players are out. They're like, I'm good. You got these douchers that are camping the spots. You got griefers. You got whatever. It's very easy for games like this to get overrun with toxic behavior, griefing, or just, again, you can have a couple frustrating nights in a row and you're going to say, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. Because, I mean, I had that experience with Sea of Thieves. I had 3 nights in a row that went poorly. You have to make failing suck, but not the end of the world. Yeah, like, you have to make the pain something that the player can endure and not be completely upset by. I was literally about to say that's why I stopped playing Sea of Thieves. Yeah, I played Sea of Thieves with my wife, and we had 3 bad nights in a row, and it was the third night was just the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm literally just taking my time that cannot be refunded, and I'm just throwing it in the toilet. You end a play session with no progress. And it was like, and I never, ever, ever tried to go back with her. It wasn't like, well, let's try again a week later. It was like, no, I am done. I am done with this. Zero interest. Pack it up. Shut it down. I'm out. I feel many people want fresh and new. They'll try Marathon for sure. It's not about the try. It's not about the buy. It's about the stay. Like, can you get people to stay? It's more about the re-engagement. Can you get people to re-engage? That is the true question. Gambit in Destiny 2 is fun, though. I don't think so. I always hated it. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you guys 27 minutes because I do like to have time now in the afternoons for Green Room, as well as time for me to record, as well as time for me to make progress in the current games that I'm playing, because the game cadence is about to pick up. And it's going to be really, really difficult to finish some of these games because they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm going to give you guys 27 minutes or 26 minutes. If you guys want to extend the stream, I let you extend. I put the stream in your hand sometimes, but this time it's going to have to be a big one. We're going to try and catch up. The current incentive is 300. If we end today and we get to 300 members before the end of the day, I'm going to drop 50 members on the stream. So make sure you're doing your renewals. If you haven't done that already, you can help with that. We got to catch up because we did take a day off on Monday because of the flooding that I had to fight. Thoughts on this in relation to the Oblivion remake? An old adversary is mentioned. That has nothing to do with Oblivion. Yeah, that I don't think that, Lone Wolf. I don't think that has anything to do with it. Their little bingo card, having that on there, I don't think that. I don't think that's like an Easter. I don't think that's like a clue, Easter egg hint or anything. You sure? Seeds mentioned in the same sentence at the event. What? That's Elder Scrolls Online. They're not. They don't have. They wouldn't have anything to do with it. Isn't that like an ESO event? That doesn't strike me as a place where they would. Or am I misunderstanding? According to the insurance company, a day off due to a not flood. That's right. The secret of games like that is that you need to see progress from the time that you've invested. Games like Hades nailed it. You're doomed to fail, but you always gain something each run. What do I do now? There's that bingo card for like an ESO event or something that Lone Wolf's asking me about. And on the bingo card, get your things ready for the Elder Scrolls Online bingo card for their event or whatever that's tomorrow. And on the card it says, an old adversary is mentioned. I'm here to tell you, I don't think an ESO event's going to have anything about Oblivion. Yo, Seeds renewing that member plus. Thank you so much. You guys have 24 minutes to extend the stream, and then we're going to go to the green room. Oh, Seeds is saying, look for Oblivion remake game the week of the ESO anniversary. Oh, after it ends. Initial info timeline was off. I own it. It happens doing this. Highly confident on dropping after the event concludes, as it is from more than one person. The project is 100% real for those doubting. You hate that it doesn't auto-renew? Yeah, our member plus dipped to like 590 or something, and I think that's always why a lot of people don't get auto-renewed. It's the week of the 21st. Yeah, Seeds is saying it's after the event, though. I don't think that tweet, to answer your question, Lone Wolf, I don't think that tweet has anything to do with Oblivion, like an old adversary is mentioned. That bingo card is for you to fill out during their event. Seeds is saying it's after the event. 2 Bethesda people and one's marketing, so I trust the one. You just meant like the event itself? No. I think the bingo card is just to be fun and cheeky for their event. I don't think the bingo card is meant to be like a clue or a hint about Oblivion. I don't see it that way. I mean, I don't know if it matters, but I don't think that's I don't think that's why that's on that bingo card. I think that bingo card is literally for the ESO event. for you to just have something fun to do. Yeah, Jeff Grubb basically shot down and said that Titanfall 3 is not, that the leak is not true. I got my friend watching Lost again because he, like many people, completely misunderstood the ending. These are the screws that came with the adapter I bought. I can barely see them. Oh my gosh, those are tiny. Jiminy Christmas. It is after the ESO event concludes, which is on the 22nd. I don't want to put the date out there and then have them change it. All right, you guys got 20 minutes. We've not been using the question command. Let me clear that queue. It hasn't been cleared in a long, long time. There we go. You can use the question command if you want. Don't forget all the great ways to support what we do. The soda, we're working with Sprecher now. I got a chair from Andeseat, and they're kind enough to send it to me. And all the other great ways of supporting, renewing your membership, gifting a membership, signing up for a brand new membership. If you've never done a membership before on YouTube, consider hitting Member Plus for $6. Stone Spire's got one here. What is the lineup for Saturday's streams? Well, here's what we're doing tentatively. So, we will be streaming the marathon stream. We'll co-stream it. I want to roll that right into the IRL stream for the paying members, where we hang out in the backyard. I'll reverse sear a steak, have some bourbon. It'll be great to celebrate you guys hitting that milestone. It's going to be brisk on Saturday, like 56. I'll be basically like in a winter coat. But I owe you guys, and if the sun is shining, then we're going, you know. Also, maybe because now I'm hooked. Use it as your break from writing. Responsibly, that is. Question, how much is Nintendo paying you? Omar. Yeah, that guy yesterday was a hoot. Yeah, and then there'll be a Friday night stream. That's what that's the weekly goal, and we'll do that with Madam. She will be playing Blueprints. I will be playing Blueprints tomorrow as well. That'll be our second segment. I'm kind of glad I did not record that Titanfall 3 video last night. I don't even know right now. We'll discuss it in Green Room. I don't even know if it's worth making, because now we've got, you know, Grubb basically shooting the thing down. Corey with a question. Helldivers 2 is a PvE extraction shooter. Can Marathon tap into that audience as a PvE VP extraction shooter? No, I don't think so. I think the minute you bring the minute you add the VP, the versus player, I think the deck of cards changes dramatically. I do. I think the deck of cards changes dramatically because now you're in a context of what I call disruption. There are rules in Helldivers. You drop, kill the bugs, kill the thing, survive, get out. Right? It's designed to be beaten. It is. And I agree with Dave. If Helldivers 2 was PvEVP, it would not be as popular. It wouldn't, because it would it would be so frustrating to be doing well, and then you get killed before you get extracted by some guy sitting on a hillside with a sniper or a rocket or whatever. Like if Helldivers did a PvP version where when you go down, there are guys that can't call in ordnance or anything like that. That'd be too easy. They could only use, like small ballistic arms. And I'm telling you, that would be infuriating. Like, nobody likes to be disrupted. That's the problem I have with this idea that you think you're going to meld looter shooter with PvP. Man, good frickin' luck. I just don't think the appeal of getting stuff and getting out, I don't think that appeal survives a bad night or a griefer or a couple frustrating games. I think a lot of people are just like, I don't want to do this. My friends don't do anything in the DMZ other than killing players and taking their loot. Yeah. I want you to think about the type of player that attracts. Think about it. What type of player is attracted by the possibility of ruining someone's gameplay session, of ruining someone's evening? Do you think those are, the kind of players you can build a community with? You think, you know what I'm saying? And people are going to point to Tarkov. Tarkov's been around for 10 years. Well, 9, but it's basically been around for 10 years. They've had a long time to build a brand, to build an audience, to slowly sort of curate. Rust does it? Yeah. This is the same developer that was drunk on the hubris of Gambit as an idea. They're just leaning into that idea more, and it's going to be a niche game. It's not going to have broad appeal. That's what I continue to come back to, Nova, is a lack of broad appeal. I don't think Marathon will be as punishing as Tarkov. The punishment is somewhat in direct relation to player behavior. So it's like, again, if it's kind of like the Dark Zone in Division 1. Do you remember that? Do you remember the Dark Zone in Division 1? I remember telling people, I was like, that's not going to work. It isn't. You're letting players dictate the experience of other players, and it turned into a grief fest. It turned into a dadgum nightmare. Hang on. I was getting a text about the Titanfall thing. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Letting players disrupt. Oh, yeah. I think the minute you give players that level of power, I just think it's too intoxicating for somebody to resist. I think they will always give in to the degenerate, toxic ways of playing. And what that does is that drives people away from the game. It just will. What's the name of the track playing right now? Orange House. Well, hang on. It probably wasn't Orange House. That was fifth. It was probably All Wave Control. Would be my guess. I've talked about this before with games. When you give players too much control, we talked about. Do you remember? Do we need to go back and have all the "I told you so"s about New World? Do you remember all my predictions about New World and how I said I think the intersection of PvP is a bad idea? I think allowing people to leverage PvP to dictate map control and PvE player experience is a bad idea. And guess what? It was a bad idea. It drove players away. It made players get frustrated to the point that they stopped showing things on the map to the PvE players because they knew it had a negative effect on their experience. It drove them to not play. You'd boot up the game, and your faction would have no control of the map because the PvP boys were going to war, and then that meant you were paying more money, and it literally did all the things I said it would do. The PvP side of New World became a nightmare. They had to babysit it. They were always patching it. They always had people glitching and exploiting. And why? That's what players do in those environments. They will find the single most degenerate way of playing, and they'll do it. Because water takes the path of least resistance. And that's a bit of a sore subject for me right now. But players take the path of least resistance. And if there's some degenerate, exploitative way to play and win, they'll do it. And they'll do it, and they'll do it, and they'll do it, and they'll do it. They will do it to the point that they cannibalize the game. And I said that would happen with New World, and it did. And I said it would negatively affect the PvE player experience and the more casual player experience, and they'd leave, and it did. And they did everything they could to try to rectify that in the aftermath. And I'm here to tell you, extraction shooters giving players the ability to disrupt the experience of another player, I think you're just going to consistently see folks say, I'm good, and they'll walk away. One bad game session, one bad night, maybe a couple bad nights in a row, and they're going to be like, deuces, I'm out. I'm out. And putting a $40 price tag on it, I think you're going to have people say, I just don't know. I watched a streamer have a bad time. I watched a review. They had a bad time. Do I want to pay $40 to go have a bad time? Lose my stuff, get griefed, get killed, get whatever. I think the game's going to have a tough time with that aspect alone. That's just one aspect. All right, we got 10 minutes. We're probably not going to extend. You guys need 94. I knew it was a big ask, but I'm going to drop a 50 bomb if you do it. I think that's fair. It's like I'm dropping a 50 bomb, but you guys have 10 minutes to get us to 300 members. If you do, I'm dropping a 50 bomb as a way to pay it forward. And let's see here. Another question comes in from Jack Garland. Will you argue with your insurance company as relentlessly and as passionately as you argued with the Nintendo pricing? I'm just going to ask them, like, what do I have? Maybe I could be wrong. I don't think that I am. I remember specifically saying, yes, I better get that. I remember my agent saying, yes, make sure you get that. So I'm be like, how do you define a flood? How? Stonespire says, will you continue Split Fiction with Hilly on Friday? I think we'll continue playing. Yeah, it's a bummer that the most recent one has. How long how long was I gone before I came and shut down the stream? It felt like a really long time. It was super stressful. It's a 2-hour long stream, and basically the last half an hour is me not there. That's not as bad as I thought. That's only 30 minutes. Yeah, I would like to roll credits on that game with Hilly so we have that like as a whole playlist. I don't know what we're going to do after that. I think people have been requesting Repo, and I'd love to play Returnal with him. I posted a rant on the marathon vid if you want to respond. Your insurance guy said to buy extra insurance? No, my agent recommended. He was a guy I actually worked with before, so I trusted him. He said, you're going to want the flood. He's like, you're going to want it, because if it happens, it's devastating. Maloon left a long comment here. All right, you guys have 7 minutes to extend the stream. You're either going to have to bat signal the big boys, or we're going to green room in 7 minutes. Maloon says, extraction shooters don't need huge player counts like BRs or arena PvP. It's not some meat grinder. They work off smaller lobbies where players drop in mid-match, which means matchmaking stays fine even if player numbers dip. I don't agree with that. Honestly, fewer players can make things better, more loot, less chaos, higher success rate on missions to extract, right? It's not like you're waiting to join a match and everyone has to start at the same time. People just come in and out of the map like a baton, I imagine. Dedicated servers and whatnot. Right, so that's fair pushback on me talking about like matchmaking and region mismatch, but server population's going to play a role there, homie. If Eastern servers are vacant and no one's playing and I go to play, I'm either going to get put in a vacant server, which completely dissolves the identity of the game if no one's in the frickin' server. What am I even doing then? Is it just like get the stuff, extract, and then there's no other players? So that part of the game just dissolves. Or if the game prioritizes putting me in a server where there are players, it's going to put me in a region mismatch. Then you end up with the lag. 2021 Lono and camera displays hit different. Yeah, they do. Yeah, it was very different back then. Okay, let's read more of what Maloon says here. With Bungie behind it and full multi-plat support, I really don't see it struggling for players, especially since consoles barely have any extraction shooters. And yeah, it being paid helps too. Destroys hacker population. No, it doesn't, especially as Bungie will do all the anti-cheat stuff and ban them. Like they did in Destiny. People say hackers will still pay, but $40 per ban adds up fast. These people pay for monthly... They pay for monthly access to cheats, brother. And account losses and restarting progression, I doubt. Most won't bother rebuying it over and over. If they do, Bungie just pockets the cash, so whatever. And how many hackers are even trios? The real make or break is content and progression. It sounds like they're banking on lore, mysteries, PvE quests, lore stuff that keeps people logging in week to week. Discovering more of the world through gameplay, permanent skill progression, loot, risk, durability. They'll definitely have safe pockets or stash systems to alleviate the severity of the pain. I'd be shocked if you can't mark gear to protect it on death. Okay, that's getting within the minutia of an extraction. I don't have anything to say on that. We'll have to wait and see what they, how they do all that. But you're making a lot of assumptions, which could be true. I also reckon PvE enemies will be a big part, adding tension and alerting players to each other. That adds goals beyond just PvP, leveling up, unlocking gear, pushing lore forward. If they pull off that slow burn discovery vibe like early Destiny, I'll stick. Can only totally see the stuff, the faction progress. Unlocking new areas, real life meta. Okay, sure, it's tricky genre to hit mass appeal, but FromSoft proved harsh games can still blow up. Here's the dilemma with what you're saying, Maloon. It's a live service game. So if in 12 months nobody's playing, your point about like, well, they don't need a lot of player numbers, that's still a failure in my mind. It's like, well, you didn't keep your players. You didn't capture and keep your players. Is the operating budget of the team on this? Is the operating budget and the marketing spend of Bungie is it? Golly. Okay. You can have a snack. Okay. Okay, go on. It's not quite the same as like Elden Ring blowing up and proving that like harsh games can be popular. It's like, well, yes, but that we're talking about a game that like you need players in the game for the game to work and for the game to succeed. You do. I don't know. I appreciate all that you wrote and all that you said, but I don't think it's as simple as like, yeah, you just need like a minimum number of players and the game will be just fine. It's like, maybe. I don't know. Their budgets and their spend and their operating costs, I don't know how you're gonna sustain that with what I would consider to be an unappealing genre. I think it's an unappealing genre at mass. Like mass market's not going to find it appealing. but they've made money. That's $40 or something. Right. So, Maloon, if Helldivers 2 sold like crazy in the first month and now had no players, nobody would say, well, it was a success. They made a bunch of money. You're underestimating the PvE aspect. But I'm not underestimating the PvE aspect. The PvE aspect is quite literally the tension point. People that want to play a PvE game, they want to play a looter shooter. Hi, me, Lono, I love them. They're like my favorite type of game to play next to action adventure. And I'm like, I have no interest in your freaking game if my PvE efforts, if my loot efforts can be disrupted by some, zit-faced, G-Fuel snorting obsessive player who like plays all day every day. I don't like handing my absolutely precious, non-refundable time into the hands of some punk kid griefer. Like, you know what I'm saying? These games attract those types of players. They do. And I'm here to tell you, my time is way too valuable to just be like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just put that in the hands of some random stranger who spends his entire day in this game ruining people's evenings. Like, no, I'm good, brother. My time is way too valuable to do that. It's why I don't play Sea of Thieves. All right, we got to go to the green room. All right. Link in chat for Green Room. If you're a paying member, you can come with us. If you want to come with us, hit join, pick Member Plus. It supports the channel directly, and your show does not end here. You enable me to do this full time, and you get a continued podcast. All right, thanks so much for being a paying member. If you're seeing this video, it is a Member Plus or VIP video. We have made some changes, so the videos should continue to be right there on the front of the channel. However, they should not be hitting your homepage anymore after we're not live. Like old VODs of like green rooms, morning coffees and stuff were hitting your homepage, and it was like from 6 months ago. It wasn't like the day that we did it. So we are making a change to alleviate that. I am going to, I forgot to set up redirect. Let me set up redirect. And then I'm going to end the previous stream and bring folks over. And I'm going to change that thumbnail.